I'd like to welcome everybody to the June 23rd regular meeting of the Marlborough Township Board of Education. Cindy, please call the roll.
I'll find out soon. Mrs. Dean.
Here.
Mr. Dwyer.
Here.
Mrs. Ennie.
Here.
Mrs. Cow is not here. Mrs. Lou Riddell is not here. Mr. Marshall.
Here.
Mrs. Matos.
Here.
Mrs. Rosenwald.
Yes.
And Mr. Lelonsky.
Here. Please be advised this meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, the Sunshine Law. Adequate notice of date, time, and agenda sent to the Asbury Park Press and news transcripts. It has been posted and filed with the Marlborough Township Clerk. Copies have also been sent to each district school and other area newspapers in accordance with the law. I'm going to read, not in its entirety, but I'm going to draw your attention to our statement and videotaping of public portion Board of Education meetings, our public session statement, as well as no smoking on school grounds. Everybody please rise and join me for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
How are you?
We're going to be starting this evening off with one of the favorite times of the year for the board, which is our volunteer recognition ceremony. So let me just tell you, it's my great pleasure to welcome everyone to our 22nd Annual District and Elementary Schools Volunteer Recognition Ceremony. This evening is one of the highlights of the year for the board because it gives us the opportunity to thank our volunteers for their tireless efforts on behalf of all the children in our district. People who choose to participate in volunteer service activities in our schools give selflessly to causes which they believe in Marlborough. We believe in our children. We know that they are the best gift we will ever receive. As volunteers, we regularly interact with our students, offering them extra assistance and encouragement in all that they do. Your presence not only communicates to them that they are important, but you are role models of how caring human beings work together in the community to assist each other and make the world a better place. It is with our deepest gratitude for your many contributions to and for our children that we present each of you with a certificate of recognition. As your name is mentioned, please come up and accept your certificate. Some of you may hear your name mentioned several times. We have certificates honoring each one of your volunteer endeavors. And we're going to start with Dara and Craig, Outstanding Volunteers, Part 1.
There are many outstanding volunteers who help out in our schools each year. Without them, many of our special programs and events that enrich the lives of our children and help make our schools the warm and special environments they truly are would not be possible. Volunteers are involved in book fairs, plant sales, cultural arts, field days, supplying refreshments for activities, assisting in special classroom or school-wide events, and so much more. Since it is impossible to honor all the volunteers from each school, every elementary school has selected several outstanding volunteers who will be receiving special recognition this evening. Each school will be thanking all of its own wonderful and dedicated volunteers at individual school events. In the David C. Abbott Learning Center, our thanks go to Mindy Belinsky, Stephanie Campo, Morgan Cash, Lisa Della Penna. Sorry, Morgan. Lisa Della Pena. Delority Jagu. Thank you, Michael. Justine Sanganari.
Three for one.
You need a second batch? You got the second batch? Okay. In Asher Holmes Elementary School, our thanks go to Bianca Beecher, Mindy Belinsky, Lisa Costa, Michelle Fischetti, Maria Giovanniello, Cherie Salvatore, Bridget Paling, Jennifer Polanco, and Geraldine Williams. In Defino Central Elementary School, our thanks go to Denise Kalfayan, Nancy Messina, Deborah Rager, Donna Riopel, Stacy Tobin, and Stacy Teresin.
All right, John? And Debbie, you read? Okay.
In Dugan Elementary School, our thanks go to Amy Burns, Michelle Klieger, Stacy Rothman, Nancy Sakai, Andrea Zeltzer, in Marlborough Elementary School, our thanks go to Annabella Alexion, Marianne Kalitri, Monica Keller, Gloria Dombrowski Levinson, Palak Patel. In Robertsville Elementary School, our thanks go to Muriel Chan, Lynn Cristiano, Lisa Ingwer, Patty Kirby, Karen Petruzzi, Pernil Sorensen. Congratulations.
Don't take it personally.
I'm taking this personally. Now we're doing
Who's here?
part 3.
Bianca,
Yeah.
Oh, Bianca came in late.
yeah, Bianca Beecher.
Oh, in Asher
Hold on.
Holmes, Bianca Beecher.
Yay, Bianca.
Somebody
Come back up.
take Bianca's?
Which one?
Bianca's, did you give it to somebody?
Asher Holmes.
I might have given. No? Then it's in there.
I have one for over here, but it's for the next one.
Not here.
What school is that?
Asher Holmes, is that mine?
No, that wasn't
you?
me.
Maybe that was you, Dara.
That's you, Dara.
Dara has it.
Sorry.
Craig, you gave him.
It's right on top.
Oh, it's right on top. Here
Well, they
you
take
go.
it back from us so quickly.
It's found.
It's found.
Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations. There's one additional group of parent volunteers who have the unique distinction of working for children across the entire district. SCOPE, the Special Children's Organization for Parents and Educators, assists parents in understanding what special education services mean to their child and provides a forum for parents to have a voice on behalf of their children. Through its fundraising efforts, SCOPE is able to provide resources to the district's special needs educators, thereby enhancing the children's learning experiences. Our thanks go to SCOPE volunteers, Annabella Election and Liz Newman.
Okay, Vicki and Debbie?
It is virtually impossible to adequately convey our appreciation to the presidents of our PTAs, PTOs, SCOPE, for their work on behalf of our students. Many of the privileges our children receive are due to their organization's generosity of money, time, and commitment. Once a month, the presidents meet with Dr. Hibbs and 2 board representatives to discuss a variety of issues to help ensure successful coordination of the many activities that are planned throughout the year and, if necessary, to disseminate important information to their prospective memberships. The presidents are from Abbott Early Learning Center, she's not here, right? Mindy Belinsky. From Asher Homes, Bianca Beecher. From Defino Central, Amy Jacobs. I don't see her. From Dukin, Stacy Rothman. From Marlboro Elementary, we have PTO co-presidents Liz Emmett and Leslie Nitzberg. From Robertsville, we have co-presidents Daniela Singari, Mickey DeSimone. From Marlboro Memorial Middle School, Danielle and Janito. Hey, Danielle. From Marlboro Middle School, we have co-presidents Laura Laveri and Christine Raza. And from Scope, Annabella Election. Thank you, everybody.
Bonnie and John?
On behalf of the member of the Board of Education, administrators, and the teachers, we would like to extend our thanks to the parent volunteers who participate in the district second level interview committees. Their input helped us to ensure that the best possible candidate was selected for these important leadership positions. Our appreciation is extended to Amy Jacobs, she's not here, Christine and Samuelson Sussman.
Kristen Sussman. Would you like to take them?
That's it. That's it, right? Okay, there comes the rain. I'd like to thank our volunteers for everything you do for our children. We extend our best wishes to each and every one of you for a wonderful summer. We look forward to your continued dedication and participation in our schools for many years to come. Thank you very much on behalf of the Board of Education.
I want to thank our parent volunteers as well. Without you, our schools would be much darker. You give up countless hours for our children, and there is nothing greater you could do. So I want to thank the volunteers and also the presidents that meet with me and challenge and ask great questions. And I look forward to our meetings next year. So thank you very much.
Folks, this is going to bring us to a public hearing on the employment contract for superintendent of schools. There are copies of the contract back there if you didn't get one when you came in. If you'd like to look at it. I'm going to let you know how we got there, and I'm going to go over some quick points in the contract before I open the hearing, so I might answer some of your questions up front. I'm just going to say I'm pleased to announce that the Board of Education and Dr. Hibbs have come to terms on the new 5-year employment contract. Given Dr. Hibbs' outstanding record performance in the Marlboro School District, the Board agreed to rescind his current 3-year contract, which would have expired next year, and give Dr. Hibbs a new 5-year contract commencing on July 1st, 2015. The new contract essentially mirrors his former contract, given the strict constraints on superintendent employment contracts in the state of New Jersey. However, here are some of the key provisions. The contract term is 5 years. Dr. Hibbs will be paid an annual salary of $165,000, which will remain fixed during the life of the contract, plus health benefits. Dr. Hibbs will be eligible for merit pay of up to 14.9% each year based on goals set for him by the board. Dr. Hibbs will receive 20 vacation days, 5 personal days, and 12 sick days annually. He will be entitled to attend 3 New Jersey professional conferences related to his duties as superintendent. He will be provided with disability insurance, and he will also be given a laptop and mobile phone at board expense. The contract at this time has been approved by the Executive County Superintendent of Schools. So I'll open it up to either comment or questions from the public at this time. Anyone wish to, just on this item, I have a public session coming up which you can speak about anything. This is just for Dr. Hibbs' contract, if you have questions or comments. Sure. Well, you can mention,
What'd you say?
she wants a combined statement.
Oh, combined, doesn't matter.
You can speak now because it involves the contract. This is when we're talking about the contract. I just need a name and address.
Sure. Hermine Goldstein, 7 Everett Court, Marlborough, New Jersey.
Thank you.
I have been living in Marlborough for 36 years. I also was very active with school boards in the past. I was also involved with building the Dugan School and on the CAC committee. In all my years living here, I've never heard of the extended contract or a discussion of a contract after only 2 years. To me, the superintendent, any superintendent, has not proven himself yet. We still have no full-day kindergarten. Now, after 2 years, a referendum in September. I'm saying, what took so long? Even if referendum passes, it will take at least 2 years for the school to be built. It took almost a whole year to finish up the security. By then, enrollment will be lower. Is there a plan B if the referendum is voted down? The value of our homes are down, and it's harder to sell because the surrounding areas all have full-day kindergarten. Also, hiring a firm for $16,000 with all the employees that you have in the board, can't you do this through technology to help with the PR work to pass the referendum? Also, in this day and age, to give bonuses out to superintendents, business administrators, or any other people for doing their jobs, and they are making a high salary. I saw that Dr. Hibbs received a $25,000 bonus. His salary is $165,000. I know it's in his contract, and that's to avoid the cap on the salary. It seems that he is making more than the last superintendent, who had at least 15 years' experience, and now the enrollment is lower. Now I read in the paper, $40 million in upgrades are needed. Our school taxes are up, as is the tax rate. Years back, we were top-heavy in administration, and we consolidated. Now it looks like we are going down the path again, reading about all the new positions. We just seem to be spending, and we should be curtailing spending. Even in Marlborough, the well runs dry. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to comment? Dr. Hibbs, sure. This is on the contract.
Elliot Cohen, 5 Sussex Road. I just echo what the previous woman stated, the urgency after 2 years to renew the contract and extend it for an additional, I guess it's 4 years past the original expiration, which was next year, 2016. It seems to me a little premature. Additionally, I know that in the years past, from what I read in the paper, agreements with labor unions seem to be very contentious, and there's no urgency to settle those contracts with our teachers, which is the foundation of this community. I think that it'd be important that we give them, the teachers, the same respect that we're giving Dr. Hibbs here by being proactive in seeking new contracts for the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, did you sign in? No. Mrs. Goldstein, did you sign in?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Erica Boylan, 2780 Drive. This isn't necessarily about the contract, but more information on the general. If it doesn't pertain, tell me to sit and I'll come back up. In speaking with some teachers in the district who did not want to speak themselves, and my sister wanted it to be very clear that it was not her at all. She's actually away for the summer already. Some sentiments from the teachers, and this is just about what's going on in the schools, is teachers, from a third grade teacher, we are treated more like children and not trusted as professionals. Let me count the ways. Why is it that the administrators are allowed to receive bonuses when teachers are the ones who are actually fulfilling and meeting the goals, not the superintendent? We feel completely unappreciated, overworked, get it done no matter what, how long over contractual hours it takes. Too much testing, not enough teaching time. I also received somebody's feelings were that there's a tremendous amount of money spent on administrators. We added tech supervisors because one wasn't enough, BSI math facilitators, and other administrators. But the district does still not have a reading program for the elementary school children. Morale amongst the teachers is down lower than it's ever been because teachers feel that their requests for materials are falling on deaf ears. The district is spending the money on other things. Give us what we need to be effective teachers. And there's just one more from a teacher. Oh, no. It's from a parent. Should I say?
I mean, if it relates to the superintendent contract, that's fine. If it doesn't, save it, please, for the next public portion.
Well, I guess it's about the contract because it's their feelings on whether or not it should be renewed now rather than
Okay,
waiting.
then that's appropriate.
Erica, I'm sorry I can't make the meeting. Please share that I feel that Dr. Hibbs should not have his contract renewed. I do not believe his philosophy and methods are in line with most Marlborough residents. Too much money has been spent on unimportant things, for example, Chromebooks and cases for them. The amount of assessments given to our children is absolutely outrageous and inappropriate. There is too much time spent on our children sitting in front of computer screens, taking assessments, and not enough time spent on teachers teaching and students learning. I feel as though parents' complaints regarding the issue has fallen on deaf ears. I am a teacher, and I know that assessments are necessary, but nowhere near to the extent that Marlborough implements it. Dr. Hibbs does not seem to make wise decisions for our children. The way he handled the whole park situation was unacceptable. This isn't about the contract. Please do not use my name. And the last one also is about the contract, I guess the contract. As a Marlborough resident for 32 years, I feel it's important to speak to the Board of Ed before the contract is renewed. My husband and I both grew up in Marlborough. Our children are in Marlborough. We thought it was the best place to move because of the schools. I'm going to try and sum it up. I find myself daydreaming about getting my kids out and moving to a neighboring town where it seems to be much better. I have a 3rd grader and a 7th grader. Since Dr. Hibbs came on board, the amount of pressure being brought upon both of my children, the testing and assessments is absurd. We are the only local town. None of the neighboring towns give the assessments that we do. It has caused stress. Teachers have to rush through topics to get everything done before they give the assessments, whether or not the children understand, because they are told to give an assessment at a certain time. 7th grader took a math assessment. That's not this. I see a huge difference between my 7th grader now and where my 3rd grader is under previous administration. My son and his classmates have been given a ridiculous amount of tests. This is all coming from the top, which seems to be the superintendent. What happened to teaching? I feel like the rest is a little bit redundant. I'm extremely disappointed with the education. It stems from the top. Something needs to be done. And I think the board needs to consider this before doing an early renewal.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
I just want to read it what Erica said. I have been told.
Excuse me,
Okay,
I
you
gotta
get-
come to the mic.
Well, why don't we see if anybody else wants
Anybody?
to speak?
Okay.
And then-
Anybody else wish to speak on the superintendent's contract? Okay, ma'am? Come on.
Yes, I have spoken.
It just needs to come up to the microphone because it has to be on the tape. I'm sorry. Take your time. It's okay.
Tell her to repeat her name again.
I just need you to repeat your name again because we have to follow our procedure.
Ernie Goldstein, 7 Everett Court. I want to relate what Erica said, that I've been talking to some parents, and normally I don't, but the pool club is open, so you get to speak to people. And I also heard that the morale with the parents and teachers is way down. And I don't have a child in the district. I have nothing to gain by this, but it's my property taxes, and I just feel that it should be heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Let me respond. I know you want to respond to something to you, but I'll respond real quick to what I can respond to. Cindy, previous superintendent, can you remind me of his final salary?
22,
220.
220. Something like that.
So it's going to make, huh?
Plus.
Plus benefits.
Plus benefits.
No,
everything
plus.
else.
No, he didn't get merit pay.
So
Yeah.
it's two, I thought it was 2 1/4.
So we're
What's
about
that?
I thought it was 220.
Yeah, I
220.
think it's
So-
225, somewhere in that
from
range.
220 to 225 range. I want to clarify what our previous superintendent's final salary was. As far as mentioned negotiations, we do take negotiations with the teachers very seriously. It's a process. We do start on time with our negotiations. I've been on 3 now, Cindy, negotiations?
Yes.
Three negotiating committees with teachers, as well as other negotiations of other groups. And it's a fair and equitable negotiation where many people come to the table, and that takes time. It takes time to get to a place where both parties don't always get everything they want, but come to a place where they're willing to settle. So for that reason, 1 year it took 3 years. It took 22 months for our negosion.
But Dr. Hibbs doesn't even sit on us.
Right. Dr. Hibbs doesn't sit on those, but I just want to make everybody understand that's a different process. It's done through a committee process with representation on both sides, and it follows a pattern of negotiations and mediators and super conciliators, and it's a process that is dictated in a way that it goes. And it winds up in the end a fairly negotiated contract where both sides sit at the table and agree. The superintendents are, in effect, free agents. And having 1 year left on Dr. Hibbs' contract, the board feels that Dr. Hibbs is doing a good job and feels for the stability of the district, we went through a superintendent search. We've been through the rounds of seeing what's out there and what's available to us. And we don't want to lose Dr. Hibbs. This is why we're offering a new contract. So the clarifier will start on July 1st if it's approved tonight in the agenda, and it will go for 5 years from that point forward. And Bonnie reminds me as well that we also did the same thing with Dr. Abbott at one point during his tenure. We renewed his contract earlier.
Yeah,
We did 1 or 2
twice,
times.
twice.
Right. So,
It's not
I don't know
unusual.
what I missed. I couldn't respond to it. Do you want to say anything?
Mike.
What?
Okay.
Sure. Anybody can speak. It's a hearing.
Besides some inaccuracies about salary, I think some of the things that I'm hearing is people are annoyed at Dr. Hibbs about what's going on by what was mandated by the federal government and the state government. And again, I think there's people in this room that know how I feel. And for the longest time, I had to sit here along with the rest of this board and approve monies to get it done, to get Chromebooks, because if we didn't have Chromebooks, they wouldn't have been able to do park. We had to have our children positioned to be able to take care of the things that the federal government, the state government said, you must do. That had nothing to do with that gentleman or anybody else in that room. And yes, it made teachers' lives miserable. And to me, it's kind of unfair. And again, I'm not a big supporter of Common Core and Park any longer, because we've positioned our children now to do what we need them to do, and they're in better shape than a lot of schools. So to blame him for that piece of it, yeah, people are talking about the testing, and he has said that he will look at that and adjust that and make changes to it. He's bent over backwards, I think, to try to get everything done that he's told he has to, and at the same time be willing to work with the parents. So I think it's unfair to put him in the pot and cook him for that. I think it's unfair to say he's overpaid, because the last superintendent, yeah, he was here 16 years, but he got paid a lot of money. And by the way, there are superintendents out there that get automobiles, that get their suits, they get a lot more than a merit. So I don't even want to go in that direction. I think I'm pro signing him, because when we were out there looking, since the cap went on, it's a lot more difficult to get good people, real good people, and I think he is one. So I am pro Hibbs, and I hope you think about it and give it some consideration. Thanks.
Sure. Yeah, it's a hearing, sure.
Bonnie Gavazon, 2 Harvest Court. Nobody's had more dealings, with contentious issues than I have coming each month, and I would just like to say that Dr. Hibbs has always listened to the parents, listened to me, acted extremely professionally, and has really done a good job in a tough spot. I've watch the state level, and I see a lot of different superintendents doing a lot of different things, and through all of this craziness in Park and Common Core, I'd have to say that I honestly don't think I would want anybody else in the position that we have here in Marlborough, and that's the truth.
Like John Dwyer, I sat on the committee to interview for superintendents, and we did 2 rounds. So as one of the board members who saw that the contract was going to be coming up, we didn't want to lose him. So it wasn't, he didn't come to us and say, I need my contract, I want it renewed, I want, we decided as a board, or, that's what we felt, we wanted to keep him here. I know some teachers sent anonymous things that they were not happy, but I was just at the graduation on Friday, and numerous teachers that were there, 8th grade teachers, other teachers that came, wanted me to know they were happy we were renewing him and that they are happy with him. And I understand there's a lot of teachers that are not happy. I get it. And they're entitled to their opinion. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But I want you to know that there was teachers that are happy with him and are willing to stay on this journey with Dr. Hibbs and to get our kids where they need to be. So I just ask that you help us stand behind the board and get through this for the next 5 years and get through this together with him, because it's a community effort. It's an effort by the teachers, the administrators, and the board members to do what's best for these children in our district. And, we've talked to Dr. Hibbs, I know Mike and I have, and other board members about reaching out and speaking to those teachers and getting to the bottom of what's going on and their feelings, and I have seen him make those efforts. So I am, with Mr. Dwyer, I agree with, I'm pro-Hibbs.
Can I say one more thing? The last 3 years has been, for want of a better word, help me out with this, Monty, has been beyond fast-paced and beyond my wildest expectations of coming onto a board. And sitting here, and there's some people on this board that have had board experience, and even they were overwhelmed. You had security issues, you had park issues, you had all the top administrators. How many principals and assistant principals have assistant superintendent. I mean, a lot has gone on in this community, and I'm not sure if everybody's fully aware of how much has gone on. This has been a whirlwind. It's been a whirlwind for any board member, and there is one person up on this board that I don't respect, because they're here and they're putting in their time. And I tell you what, I have a different view of every administrator in this community, because it has been a tough 3 years. And I applaud them. I applaud what they've done. And yeah, they've shaken up the trees in the sense of, with the new guys coming in, I know teachers aren't going to be happy, because a lot of people don't like change. It's by nature, people don't like change. And change is happening in Marlborough. Change is here. Whether it be new administrators coming in, teachers having to deal with them, teachers are getting crushed with what is being mandated by the state. What do you think, that's coming from here? Absolutely not. But they have to do he has to do what he's told to do. Right? So I just ask that you look at the whole picture, and you look at, you sit down and you talk to people, and I know that you've talked to people. There's not a lot of great superintendents and assistant superintendents out there running around. Not at 165 anyway. Trust me, that's a hard sell. And I think we have a great commodity here who is shaking the trees. Right? Let them keep shaking them for a while. Let them keep shaking. Because at any given time, we can push back, but I don't see that coming. I really don't. If I thought I did, and again, 25 years on the street, I've seen people, I've seen administrators. He's got administrators that don't like him. Why? Because he holds them accountable. That's what I want to see. As a board member, as a parent, that's what I want to see. That's what you should expect to see. He holds principals and assistant principals accountable. That's what we need in Marlborough. And I just asked the folks that aren't overly happy, give it some consideration. That's all. Thanks. So I'll be good now.
My voice isn't great, so bear with me. Let me address a couple of things that you spoke about. Our property values actually are going up in town. So let me put that to rest. That's number one. Which is a good thing. The kindergarten issue, near and dear to my heart. I'm not happy we don't have kindergarten. but I wanted it yesterday. But it is a long process, and I think we could have done better in general with that. And I think that part of the problem was that we asked a lot of Dr. Hibbs, and we have a lot of problems. Dr. Hibbs, as well as this board, didn't know really the depth and the breadth of the problems that he was walking into. This board started projects 5 years ago, which had to do with Common Core, which even started long before that, and Park. We started an initiative that had to do with Chromebooks, which started under Dr. Abbott and really came to a head under Dr. Hibbs. We started an initiative that had to do with security and an upgrade of buildings that started long before Dr. Hibbs got here, but again, came to a head under Dr. Hibbs. I've been talking about maintenance since the day I walked on this board. But this board and this administration under Dr. Hibbs really didn't know the severity of the issues until we had a architect do a full survey of the buildings, and we really saw what was going on. We didn't know really what wasn't being done. I had an inkling to it, but we really didn't know. And Dr. Hibbs, and I say poor Dr. Hibbs, because every time he picked up a piece of paper, there was another problem. And when he came in, all our contracts were being negotiated. So this man who came from a smaller district with a much smaller budget, who said to us, yeah, it's like Thanksgiving dinner. If you could cook for 7, you can cook for 21. Really didn't really know what he was walking into. And we asked a lot of him. And boy, did he really get everything thrown at him. He had a Thanksgiving dinner for 150 people. So I think under the circumstances, I think he really has shown a lot of dignity, a lot of restraint, and has he done everything 100% to what I would have loved? No, not 100%, but I don't wake up every morning and do 100% to my own liking. So I can't expect that everything's going to go his way 100% of the time. And we as citizens of Marlborough and staff can't expect him to do everything. He's going to have bad days, he's going to have good days. And there's not everything that I agree with him on, but in general philosophy, I think I agree with what he does, and I hope we get there down the path to the end result, but we might not get there the same way. I know we've had our disagreements, and we don't agree on everything, but I think that he needs to be here in Marlborough. He's a breath of fresh air, and we should all be patient with how we're going to get there, and hopefully we'll get to kindergarten. I still have lots of questions, and I don't agree, but we'll get there. So that's it.
I didn't want to duplicate everything everybody said or some of the things that people said, but I did want to reiterate things like kindergarten. Dr. Hibbs from day one said that he was completely for a full day K. We need this going forward, and the board did all agree. We also don't want to be spending $20-something million of taxpayer money without shaking the tree, and he helped us do that, and we appreciated that. And we could go into this referendum knowing that we're giving you the best that we could give you. And I actually want to apologize because I was not prepared to bring all the nice notes I got for you. You know, you can't please everybody, and like I think John said, you like to hold everybody accountable. But a lot of what I've been getting to me is that they're thankful, even if they don't agree with some of your phone calls, in a joking manner. But they're thankful that you push our district to the best that it can be to handle our major changes, like the Common Core in the park. And that's the kind of district that I want my children in. That's where we're at. And I like the fact that you're forward-thinking and very respectful and very transparent.
Just want to add a couple little things, really. One of the things I learned in the corporate world before getting out of it and starting my own business is that when people complain about somebody, especially at the higher level, one of the first things I've learned to ask is that because they're doing their job? And I think in this case, a lot of what I've heard tonight and even other nights when we've had these meetings about certain complaints that are going on with administration, personally, I feel it's because Dr. Hibbs is doing his job and he's doing it quite effectively. And that's why there are some ruffled feathers and there are some people who are upset because they're not hearing what they want to hear. But that doesn't mean that he's wrong. You know, just because Dr. Hibbs has asked for things from the board doesn't mean that he gets it right away. We do a lot of, let's just say, cross-discussion here on the board, you know, and but the one thing that I do admire, and again, let me preface it by saying, I only came on the board in January, so I'm, you know, witnessing things for the first time. But one of the things that I do admire about Dr. Hibbs is that he prioritizes quite well. He kind of has his own scale of, you know, this is what we really need, this is what it would be nice to have, and yeah, if we had it, okay, not a big deal. And that's kind of how we prioritize many of the expenses on the board. You know, when we went through the budget process, which was quite extensive, and we went through line items, and we really held his feet to the fire on several of those items. He also works quite well with administration across the street, which I think is very important because that gap has to be, you know, bridged, and I think he does that quite well. And I think also extremely important, again, whether you like what you hear or not, I have never witnessed Dr. Hibbs, whether it be on a phone call, in a person-to-person meeting, in a dialogue here on the board, or in email form, where he shows any level of disrespect. And I think that's a rarity today, and I admire that about you very much. And I've seen that demonstrated towards parents, towards other administrators and teachers. And again, some people, may not appreciate what the outcome is. And also, which really kind of warms me up a little bit, is that he's also extremely respectful to our students. And that to me means pretty much more than anything, because the adults can handle it, sometimes kids can't. But when you're coming face to face with a superintendent of the school, and you can walk away smiling because he was nice to you and he was respectful, I think that says a lot about the man's character. And the fact that we, you know, as everybody here has given examples, we have accomplished a great deal on this board, and I'm very grateful that I still have about 2.5 years left to continue pursuing it. So again, I would thank you all for coming tonight, and really consider what Dr. Hibbs is to all of us. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Craig.
John?
There's a person in the audience, too.
Okay, sure, come on up there.
Deborah Rager, 47 Lloyd Road. I just want to partially reiterate about the Chromebooks, that we all have enough for all of our students here, and the security that was done. I have nieces that are in our next door neighboring town, and last week I signed my niece out twice, and I was never even once asked my name. Never mind that we could have walked in the door and gone the other direction. So I personally would rather be scanned 14 times to know that my child's safe and isn't going to be taken by somebody else than to have this happen, for that to have been sent. And I am so against Park and Common Core, you can't believe it, and I almost opted my child out. But computers and technology is the way this things are going. He took it for the experience to take it on the computer, and the fact that we had a computer for every student, we were able to continue teaching the rest of the day. They were able to go to their other classes and learn. The neighboring town, they didn't have enough, as many towns in the state of New Jersey. They watched movies. They took a 75-minute test, and then they watched a movie. That was 13 days of learning wasted. So I personally am very grateful and think that he came in at a very difficult time and being stuff all mandated by the state, not by our town, and that he's done a great job.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Yeah.
I don't want to repeat what my colleague already said, but sit on this board, we went through the process of interviewing a superintendent. I know that what we pay him is not that high because there are other superintendents paid much higher than this. That's one. And also, when we hired Dr. Hibbs, that we know that this district is facing a lot of changes. So I think one big reason that many of us hired him is because he showed us that he is ready to take. He has this spirit to be able to take the challenges. So I think that's one quality that we have been seeing for all these years. He is here because we are, as Dyer said, that we are facing change. We made so many changes in this short 2 years. And another reason, another quality, as many of us colleagues already said, that he never stepped away from the problems. We have issues one after another. He is always face it. Not only he face it, but he holding the principle. I think I may not agree with you, but I always seen he truly believe this is best for our school, for our children, and he holds it and then work on it, try very hard to implement. Take an example, park test. The way he handled all the requests from our parents, to me, it's really sincerely try to do his best to address the needs. So to me, I think that's great quality that a superintendent has. For the salary he is getting compared to what I see in the other district, for what he has been done to this district, for the spirit of be able to facing the challenge, never step away from the change, from the issues and problems that he is facing. I truly think we have the right person there, and it's hard from the interviewers. That's hard to find a person like that. Thank you.
Thank you, John. One more thing, Bob?
The only thing I wanted to say was, can you hear me? The only thing I wanted to say was that the law prescribes that we have to have this hearing. And what I told the couple of people that called me that wanted me to know on both sides that they were happy and unhappy, that I said, you have to come out to a meeting, and this is the time that you have to come out. And they said, well, we're letting you know. And I said, well, you have to be on the record, and you have to come. And if you're unhappy, you have to tell exponentially the amount of people that you're calling me for to come out to a meeting, because this is the time that you have to tell the board either way, happy or not happy, because this is the time period that the board has to make their decision whether they're going to vote for the contract. And if you're telling me that many people are unhappy, you have to be at a board meeting and to tell the board. So if you're not in those seats, banging down the door and saying that many people are unhappy, then we don't know it. Or happy on the flip side. And I can only say that with this many people in the audience, then I have to vote my conscience and say, okay, fine. Then with my experience, I'll vote what I want to vote, because with the few phone calls that I received and with my knowledge and with not only the interaction, but with the historical knowledge that I have to vote the way I have to vote in good conscience, because this doesn't show me anything. So.
Michael, for the record, just going on what Mrs. Rosenwald said, did you receive any emails concerning Dr. Hibbs? Because this was on the agenda since last, it was.
No.
Okay.
Okay. I'll just end off in agreeing with my fellow board members, but not going to repeat all that again. I spoke my piece in the beginning, but one big piece that you need to understand is how important the relationship is between the superintendent and its board for the board to function. There are many boards that have contentious relationships with their superintendents. When I sit next to this gentleman, and when he calls me on the phone, and he tells me something, I put the phone down, I go to bed at night, I put my head in the pillow, I don't have to worry about, did he tell me the whole thing? Or is he holding back? Does the board really know what's going on? This board has never had such a transparent relationship with the superintendent as it has now, and it's really refreshing. As a president, and whoever else sitting in one of these seats next year when my term is up, I want you to know it's refreshing to be able to sit next to this gentleman week after week and know that when Tuesday night ends and we walk out this door, we're not forgotten until the next Tuesday night comes, because I've been there. It's an important fact you need to understand. So I'll just end with that. If everybody's gone, then I'll close the public session. I'll close the public.
Sure.
Mark, is it okay for me to say something?
Certainly.
Okay.
I think that everybody in their life should go through this at least once. This is not fun. And honestly, you sit here and it's difficult. It takes a lot to make my head sweat. I've been shaving my head for 16 years now, and I'm sweating. I want to say thank you. You said some very nice things. And I want to thank all of my staff for their hard work, because they work very hard for our children and our community, which is amazing. When I came here, I was asked the question. Mount Holly had 1,200 kids. It was a district factor, Group B, and I'm 41, so I was 38, 39, and I was asked the question of, can you really do this job? And that was to Bonnie's response. I said, look, I knew it was coming. I was under 40. You think I didn't know the experience question was coming? I said, if I can cook Thanksgiving dinner for 10, I can cook it for 50. I know how to make the mashed potatoes and the turkey. I can take the temperature. I love being here. I'm not going to lie and say that this is an easy place to lead, because it's not. But one thing is honestly true. I go home every night whenever I get there, and Sophia, Dominic, and Bella are my three. And I hope you believe this, that anything that I ever do here, I look through the lens of, is it good enough for my Soph, my Dom, and my Boo? We call Bella Boo. And if it's not, I address it. Not sometimes, not once in a while, every time. Now, we and some staff members and anyone may not always agree. There's three types of conflict or decisions, I apologize, that exist in this world. It's my decision, it's our decision, and it's your decision. I wear all three hats. Two different types of conflict that exist in this world. There's intellectual conflict, where we have an intellectual discussion and we can walk away and hug it out. And then there's different type of conflict. I'm always respectful in every interaction. So at the end of the day, what I will always do, as long as I'm breathing, is work hard for you and all 5,200 plus children that live here in Marlboro. So thank you very much for your support. Thank you very much for the comments. Some of the things that we mentioned, I think are really important. Our BSI facilitators, I think it is important to have them at the middle school. Our Chromebooks, right now, and we're going to talk about in a little bit, we have about 54% of our parents that want the Chromebooks to go home. And what that means is 1,000 children are going to have this technology in the home setting next year, which is amazing. So there's a lot of amazing things, I'll use the word amazing, that happen here in Marlboro, because that's what we are. We're incredible, we're progressive, we're fast. And with that, you always have my pledge and my leadership's team's pledge, and Mr. Dwyer is 100% right, that 6 out of 8 building principals will have been hired by me. 4 out of 5 supervisors. That means the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, everything from the change to HR, 6 out of 8 building principals and 4 out of 5 supervisors were changed in less than 2 years. That is a catastrophic level of change. And in the end, we're still moving forward, and we're only going to get better. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Go ahead.
Artwork displays.
Artwork. Okay. So, what we have here, in the boardroom, we have champions who have our lovely posters here. And out front, we had our 8th grade mural arts. They're based on the life and work of Alex Katz. And that was courtesy of Allison Wallace at Marlboro Middle School. So we are fully stocked with art, sir.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to announce that Tara Gossovich, DMD, who is the district's Emerald Level sponsor for 2014-2015 school year, and we thank her very much for her sponsorship. Mrs. Bargu, bus Astra?
Oh, as we do every month, excuse me, all of our transportation drivers and buildings and grounds individuals who drive our vehicles, we run their abstracts on their driving records every month, and they continue to have privileges and good standing.
Thank you, ma'am. Before you have any communications, I do have a communication tonight from the board to Mr. Dwyer, who is leaving us after this meeting. This is his final meeting with the board, and we want to express our gratitude. I got to tell you, sir, from my perspective, it's been a pleasure having you here on the board. Your transparency, it's very rare you get to have somebody that you can have a dialogue with and discussion with week after week, and whether you disagree or agree, come back to the next conversation meeting like that, and it's done, it's over, and it's done. I tell you, John's integrity is unmatched, and it would be missed. So, Victoria has some words and a plaque for you, sir.
Come on, John. Come on. A little emotional. I'm the one that went to John, got him into this ring circus, we used to call it. But I asked John, why don't you run for the Board of Ed? Man of integrity, put your time in, you got your kids in the school. And he said, okay. And I remember when he was campaigning, he had just had a surgery. He was so sick. Mm-hmm. And I can remember he was out shaking hands, meeting people, doing the right thing. And I remember the night that Dr. Abbott went and said he had won. He was so sick, he couldn't see the numbers. He was like, what do you congratulate me for? And Dr. Abbott goes, you got the highest vote. He couldn't even see it. He was so sick. But it's been an honor to serve with you. And on behalf of the board, Marlboro Township Board of Ed presented to John Dwyer, in grateful recognition of your dedication and integrity while honorably serving the Marlboro Township School District, April 17th, 2012 to June 30th, 2015, we thank you. And we thank his wife, Ronnie, who is here. And if your 2 kids can come up, I'll get a picture of y'all real quick. You can take a picture.
Do you know this woman, John?
John, can I ask you to use the mic, please? I'm sorry.
There are people in this room tonight that I appeal to. This was probably, and I said it before, 25 years on Wall Street, and I don't think I had as much of a hard time as I did with 3 years on the board. It was a very, very, very difficult 3 years. But I walk away, I'm not walking far. I'm Marlboro, and I'll be here in Marlboro. And I know he's going to hear me again at some point, because I could be sitting next to you, Bonnie, this time. But it was the most rewarding 3 years of my life. I met a lot of great people, a lot of great administrators, and I had a different view of them before I walked in this door. I had a very skewed, state workers, they work their butts off. And there isn't one person, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart, that it was you that I worked with. Good people. Some of the people out here, there's a few, run for the Board of Ed. It will be the best 3 years of your life. Difficult? Yes. It's the most rewarding time I think I've ever spent. I'm walking away. I'm walking away here tonight successful. And I hope that you guys would consider, take that seat. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to also mention, too, tonight, since I'm communicating, I want to thank Craig Vaughan. It's also Craig's last meeting with us. Craig is moving on as well.
Already?
Craig is moving on as well. It's the end of June. That's correct. Next meeting will be in July.
Oh, my goodness.
So, Craig, thank you. You were as well, breath of fresh air when you came here. I wish we could have kept you longer, but good luck. Communications?
Yeah, sure. And for those of you who don't know, Craig is going to be a superintendent in a Burlington County School District, Springfield. So he's gonna soon have the same experiences, which are great.
I'm going to have my own John Dwyer.
You should only be so lucky.
I got my award from Craig, and that's going to be right next to this in the frame. Trust me, I can't share it with you, but it's a great award that I got.
I would like to communicate that we had two very nice graduation ceremonies on Friday. They both went very well. Students performed incredible musical compositions with both our different level of bands and choirs, and our students spoke very well, and it was just two great experiences, so I want to make sure that everyone knew that.
Good. Okay, I have one other here. The board got a communication from the Marlboro Educational Foundation wishing the board a relaxing summer. Thank you for your commitment to the students of Marlboro Township Schools and from the Celia family. So that was
Very nice.
the full board. All right. Everybody received a copy of the superintendent's report, including harassment, intimidation, bullying, HIB report, May 21st, June 18th. There were 2 incidents.
Yes, 2 incidents.
Anybody have any questions? Okay. We currently have enrollment as of the end of May, 5,271 students, which is 66 less than the same time the previous year. Upcoming meeting dates are July 7th, workshop meeting, and July 28th, regular meeting. John, would you mind reading approval of minutes, please, sir?
Approval of minutes. Be it resolved that the minutes of the following meetings be approved as submitted. May 26th, regular and executive. I so move.
Thank you. Seconded by Victoria. Any discussion on the minutes? Cindy, please call the roll.
Mrs. Ennie?
Yes.
Mrs. Cow?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. Matos?
Yes.
Mrs. Rosenwald?
Abstain.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Lalanski?
Yes. Everybody's received a copy of the Secretary of Business Administrator's report, including the payroll certification and investment report. Anybody had any questions or comments on any of those items? Seeing none, I guess, Dr. Hibbs, you're going to give the middle school Chromebook deployment plan, 2015-2016 school year.
Yep, and I think this is really just about numbers again. So parents have the opportunity to register their vote through Genesis. So out of a total of 1,967 opportunities, we have 715 who have voted yes.
Plus Debbie, she didn't do hers.
No, it's 1967 in all. So it's okay. We have about 1,347 that have currently voted, which leaves, roughly 600. So you can vote yes. So we're sitting right at 53%.
Okay.
So when we have final numbers, 53% yes.
And the plan?
The plan is that we are going to have, those children are going to take them home, and those that are not are going to go back to a PM homeroom and plug them in. And that way we have listened to both sides of our community, for those that want them to go home and for those that do not see the value in them going home and don't need the device. So by really just adding roughly a 4-minute PM homeroom, we'll be able to satisfy both of our constituents in the community. Yeah. What? I can't. I'm sorry. 8 minutes. Well, yes, 8 minutes. Sorry.
Debbie had a question. Debbie?
I was just curious, I couldn't make the evening sessions, the public sessions.
Okay.
We never spoke after that. How did it go?
I think we had roughly 6 members-ish at each middle school.
So big turnout.
Not very, very intimate. Very intimate.
Okay.
I think that, in my opinion, once there was a choice, I think that people were happier.
Right.
Okay, so what are we adding at the end of the day? Because you said 4 minutes, you said 8 minutes.
Yeah, it's a PM homeroom. They're going to go back to homeroom at the end of the day.
Okay, how many minutes?
8.
Okay, so it's 4 minutes hallway time and 8 minute.
No, you're essentially lowering the 50-minute period to 49 minutes. You're shaving off 1 minute, and then you're going to tack it on to the end of the day.
We have a 50-minute class.
Yeah, there'll be a passing time. There'll be a passing time, and then there's going to be a time for them to plug it in, which is really all they need. 8 minutes altogether.
All right, so we're making the 50-minute classes now 49 minutes.
Yes.
Michael, never mind. Just to reiterate what we spoke about, I think after the last meeting, is that although we're taking 1 minute, just so the public knows too, although we're taking 1 minute off of each period, what you shared with me was that in essence you're still gaining time in the classroom because the teachers don't have to go back and forth with their Chromebook, signing in, signing out after every period.
Yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure we're...
Just so you understand, right now, we have Chromebooks that exist in carts in different areas in our middle school. So as the students leave, the Chromebooks stay. So there's a setup and a breakdown and a check-in for every period that exists. That time will go away, just like Mrs. Matos just said.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Hibbs, the ones that are going to be staying at the school, you said what percentage was that, 50?
Well, right now it's 47.
47%. I just want to make sure we are equipped to have all those Chromebooks that are left at the school charged and ready for the next day.
So what we need final numbers, and then we need Mr. Ennie to do our tally of our carts, and then we'll be able to make sure that we're in the right spot to charge them all. Yes.
But that 47% is those people who responded.
Yes.
So we don't have an exact number yet.
You do not.
We won't have that until September, probably, correct?
Well, I think you'll have it before September. Yeah, I'd like to have it by the end of July. At that point, what'll happen is it's slowly creeping up. So we have about 1,400 out of about almost 2,000. So we're still shy of 600 out of 2,000. So really, a lot of people have responded. I think that as you can't check grades until you actually respond to the survey. It directs you through the prompts to do it. So, and we set that up that way to ensure that we would have an answer and a response. But at some point, we're going to have to make phone calls just to make sure that people saw the email, that they understand how to log in, so that we know where we are, so that when children start, we know what our homes look like and how that will look.
Greg?
Will parents have the ability to change their mind? In other words, they may start out saying, no, I don't want them at home, and then, whatever it is, couple days, couple weeks later, they say, you know what, it really does pay to have them home. Will there be a process in place that they can notify the schools, or how will that work?
Absolutely. So we will convey to the parents the full details of the total plan. In there will be that as one of the frequently asked questions, which we already have developed. And if a parent or a guardian wants to change their mind and say yes, it's not a problem. They can simply go on to pay for it, pay the $35 fee, and then we will process, and the child will have their Chromebook then to go home.
I just want to make sure I didn't miss something. everybody's going to PM homeroom at
Yes.
the end of the day?
It has to be,
I just wanna make sure.
yeah. So what happened was that I sat down with Mr. Pacifico and Mrs. Nowaki, and we really tried to flesh out how to make this feasible. There's really no way to do this by really just saying a portion of the children.
Also, shouldn't we have enough cart space anyway? Since none of the children brought home Chromebooks this year anyway, shouldn't we have enough cart space anyway?
Well, yes and no. So right now, what happens is that there is not a cart per every room in the middle schools. So depending on, and that's why some classes had to share. So even though we technically had enough Chromebooks, by not carrying them with them, we didn't have the physical correct number delineated in every room. That handing a Chromebook to a child would have solved that problem. Absolutely.
Sorry.
John, you got something?
Yeah, of course, it has to be on my last night that I disagree with you, Dr. Hibbs. And you know I disagree. It's one of the disagreements I've had with Dr. Hibbs over this. If the population doesn't want it, why are you, at this point, bending over 14 ways to Sunday? And now you're going to be taking time away. And if you would have turned around and told me, John, we're getting rid of, there's books coming out of book bags, and we'll be able to tell people, we're going to take 20 pounds of books out of your kid's bag if they bring their, and I'm not seeing that, and I'm not hearing that. And all I'm hearing tonight is that you're going to be taking more minutes away from precious teaching time, and that concerns me. It bothers me, and I know you're trying to do the right, thing. I just think you're going to beat your head against the wall and get scar tissue on your forehead, and I think at the end of the day, it's not going to help, especially the minutes you're taking away at the end of the day.
But I think you said that it's a wash because
I
the time that
heard
they
it,
come back and
but I
forth.
heard that, Michael, but is it a wash?
Well,
I'm not comfortable with
Well,
it.
the
I'd rather see you guys turn around and tell me, hey, we're taking books out of their bag, and that's the reason, and then you're going to see everybody pile on, and we're going to have a one-to-one
John,
going
he
home.
mentioned that
Yeah.
last week. He
Well, I'm
mentioned
mentioning it again tonight.
I'm just saying, he did mention it, that it was something that.
Well,
he was gonna look into.
it's something that should be seriously looked into.
You're talking about the binders,
Aggressive.
and I've had these discussions with both Pat and John, and I do believe that there's going to be the cut down of binders on book bags because a lot of the things that we have can be stored virtually. So that's something we absolutely are going to encourage and to try to put into place. 100%.
I think you bring a lot more parents on board with this, because I'm not completely, I don't have a complete understanding as to why they don't want to buy in.
Not books.
No, the binders, I know, the
Saying
binders are going,
binders,
but I'm
not
talking
books.
about books too.
Books don't come.
Books don't come home unless
The
you
only,
want them.
the only book that comes home is the math workbook. Books don't come home in the middle school.
And how big is the math?
It's in the binder.
It's a workbook. But in the middle school, John, books don't
It's
come
only
home.
middle school, don't forget. It's not, we're not talking
You got
about
to go back to
elementary.
middle school there, Dawn, because you got about a 40-pound
Yeah,
bag.
it's only
in
middle
high
school that takes their books home. I mean, that middle school that doesn't take their books home.
But that's something that has come up about the different binders and the book bags, which we're taking a look at.
Right. I'm sorry to interrupt, but at the last meeting, when John brought this up, you said that maybe they could combine,
Mhm.
instead of doing 2-inch binders per
Right.
period, maybe they could combine.
Michael, you want to speak?
Oh, I can't see them.
That's okay.
He was-
You wouldn't have known.
No, go ahead. You could clarify. I just want, that's a good clarification that John.
I just would be remiss if I didn't share with you and Mr. Dwyer.
Are we going to fight tonight?
No, we're not going to fight tonight. We never fight. But I would be remiss if I didn't share that it's only been a few years that we have gone to the 50-minute period in the middle schools. We went from a 42-minute to a 50-minute period, now to 49. So net, we're actually adding 7 minutes. We added 8 minutes, now we're losing 1. So we still, we're really not losing
You pulled
instructional
that
time.
logic on me on Wall Street, and I would have thrown you out of my office.
Funny guy.
I have a couple of questions. I agree with John that I'm not really, we're bending over backwards for half the population. I'm kind of like, it's not broke, don't fix it. I would wait another year. We have a lot, again, we have a lot on our plate. This is an initiative that we've achieved. The kids have them. They're working on them. The Google platform was a great platform. We went to it. because they could pick it up anywhere. They could pick it up in the library, they could pick it up at home, they could pick it up at a friend's house. It wasn't something that they could not utilize wherever they were. We haven't discussed how we're going to replenish these Chromebooks. $35 for insurance does not replace one. If kids break them, carrying them back and forth, what do kids do with them during lunch hour? What do they do with them during gym? Just to say they put them in lockers. We know that things disappear, things get broken. What do kids do with their backpacks or whatever, their books at lunchtime, their binders? Do they put them on the tables in the lunchroom? So now you're putting their little nap thing that they carry, book, their binders, and a Chromebook on the table, and their lunch. That's not a. So where are they going to do? Stack them in a corner somewhere?
Comment.
No. So the way the middle schools work is lunch is social hour. They don't bring any books to the lunchroom, so therefore they wouldn't bring any devices as well.
How long is lunch?
It's a 25-minute period.
So they go back to the lockers and then
Correct.
they go?
Yes.
Is that why parents tell me they don't have enough time for lunch? That they get online and they have to go to the locker, then they get online and they don't have time for lunch. Now I understand why parents complain to me they don't have time for lunch.
That part I can't answer, but I was just answering the piece where they do not bring anything academic to lunch, and if they do, they are instructed not to bring it. So for that reason, that it really...
Okay, so where are they going to put this for gym?
We've discussed actually plans for that to get them secured and locked, or to get back to their lockers prior to phys ed.
At this moment,
I know this is administrative.
No,
but this is
it's already been wrapped up, Mrs. Rosenwald. This was already. I already had the blessing of the board. We deployed it. If this would be an educational need of a child, so for instance, if we'd be sitting in a math room and we would say, this child needs differentiation in this level because they didn't understand fractions, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. So in this moment, 1,000 kids are set to take home a technology, which is going to be something they can use in the home environment. So at the end of the day, I was asked to develop a process that would work for and focus on everybody.
And I've had concerns since day one, and my questions have not been answered. How are we going to replace these?
You're going to have to budget money into your budget like you would have anyway. You're going to have to put money in your budget to replace Chromebooks, whether they go home or not. That's the simple fact of the matter. If you want to ask, hey, what do other districts, what are they looking at costs? There's no really good answer right now. And I mentioned the other day about Freehold Township. I called Dr. Kaysen and I said, look, you're sending home your Chromebooks in the middle school. What costs have been associated with that? Eric, virtually none. Kids treat these like gold. They really do. And that's what you hear across the board. Manalapan, Hal sent home $1,000 MacBooks to all their middle schoolers. You're not hearing that children are running around and swinging from the chandeliers and throwing them like shot puts. They're actually taking care of them.
Let's remember, too, that, again, this whole initiative was way before Dr. Hibbs sat at this table. It was under David Abbott, superintendent. So I remember when we had the town meeting to introduce Dr. Hibbs to the public, I answered the questions on the Chromebooks because he hadn't been privy to our conversations yet. And at that time, the answer I gave the public was what's happening now, 2 years later, because it took us 2 years to get to that point of Dr. Hibbs structuring it out. So I think you're going to find over time more people want to take them home. What you're going to find is also many, many things that we can't talk about tonight yet because they're still being implemented, but such that our Chromebooks, if they're set up the way we want to, your child will be doing their homework when they're in front of the Chromebook. They won't be on websites they shouldn't be on because they're our Chromebooks, so we can control our Chromebooks. So when your child is sitting there at the dinner table with the Chromebook open, they're doing homework. you know they're not chatting with someone they shouldn't be chatting with and not doing their homework. So that's going to be a plus that people will find. And that might be enough to have another 20% go the year after when they figure that out. So just that one point, never mind, you know, the other kinds of things that we can program and throw on Chromebooks that
Absolutely.
might not be in your Chromebook or your device you're using to access Google. So just wanted to make that clear.
You didn't mention Monroe.
Did you have it?
I didn't call him.
Go ahead.
Well,
I think Debbie had
Debbie.
it.
Oh, he's being a gentleman. You mentioned that there's going to be a frequently asked questions page.
Yes.
I know we had spoken about it at the last meeting. I just want to make sure that you're still going to include under that page the sports activities, anything after school related.
About what
About
what to do with it?
Yeah, what
Sure.
to do with it.
Absolutely.
Thank
You got it.
Okay.
Craig.
Great.
I just want to say, I think just so everybody understands, what the board did was ask Dr. Hibbs to come up with a policy of how we're going to handle Chromebooks. I don't think we want to sit here and tell him what his policy should be. I think it's also very important to say that we're, and I respectfully disagree, that we're not bending over backwards for half the community. We're really trying to bend over backwards for everybody to try to create an alternative that everybody can live with. And I think, I don't want to speak for you, Dr. Hibbs, but I would imagine if something is not working, you guys are going to get together and fix it and tell us what wasn't working and then tell us how you fixed it. I don't think we need to be belaboring the point here and sitting here and telling you what policy you should come up with. So I think you gave us a policy. I think it's worth giving it a shot. If we have to vote on it, let's vote on it.
Craig,
But let's
just
move
so
on.
somebody doesn't correct you, it's plan, not policy.
I'm sorry?
Plan, not
Plan,
policy.
I'm sorry. I
know.
apologize.
We
Don't worry.
know, it's okay.
Thank you, Craig.
Thanks, Craig.
We know what you meant.
Okay. No, what's that?
Comes right after this.
Right after this.
No.
Right after, I had to do the.
After I shut up, then we can do a public
Okay.
session.
All right. That's a good idea, Bonnie. Okay, so let me open up public session, open to any item. We have an hour to vote to public session. I'm going to ask that you keep your comments to 5 minutes. Cindy will keep time again as usual. She has her two colors, the yellow warning at 1 minute and the red when your time is up. And I'll ask them when your time is up, your time is up. We're going to go by the clipboard first, and then anybody else that's not in the clipboard.
Craig, clipboard, please.
Hermine Goldstein?
No,
No, that's who's.
I think everybody on this one went. to be honest.
No, Bonnie, I saw Bonnie's sign.
She spoke
Unless they wanted less.
No, but this is about other things.
Yeah.
Not about the contract.
Yeah, let's separate this for a second.
So maybe I just call people up then. If it's
Yeah.
comp- All right.
They should sign it.
Mr. Rosenwald, I saw you stood up, sir. Yeah, but it's too confusing from before. I'll just call people up.
Different thing.
I know, you can go next. Work with me.
A couple of quick things. Mr. Dwyer, thank you for your service. I think you've had a lot of very important input to the board. I just want to correct you on one small thing, though. The accountability regs that were passed, about 7 years ago more, preclude any of those extras. No cars, no suits, no annuities, no special insurances. It's very cut and dried what a superintendent can get paid. It's based on the size of the district. If they have a high school, there's a stipend, and there is provisions for merit pay. Okay.
Thank you. My point was, it was out there.
Yeah, those were the Wild West days.
I don't think a lot of people know that, Mark.
Yeah, those were the Wild West days. In addition, another quick point of interest, Monroe, which was very early into the one-to-one initiative, has had about a 40% failure rate on their devices. Mr. Washington, who is their IT director, even said so at a public meeting. But it's just a point of interest.
Thank you, sir. Bonnie?
Bonnie Gabazon, 2 Harvest Court. This is a little out there, we talked a lot about transparency and respect, and I come here, I'm a tough cookie, I'm not easily offended, but not everybody, I feel it's important that parents should always feel comfortable to come and speak at board meetings, and 99% of the time I have felt comfortable. With the exception, honestly, of one board member, I've always been treated with respect. and it's always stayed within this room. It's come to my attention that something was posted online that named me directly, and I want to read it because I have a lot of reasons why I do believe it was written by Bonnie Sue, but rather than say why I think it was you, I'm just going to ask. I'm going to read the comment and then just ask if it's attributed to you, and you can answer or not. So this is on NJ.com, the Marlboro Forum, and it says, and it was posted by somebody by the name of Benji Fran. So my question will be, do you or have you posted under Benji Fran? And it says, it's taken a little time for me to get caught up on what has been going on. I find it hilarious that the couple of mothers who were so virulently against Common Core and Park are now silent on that issue. They were all about the evils of it and were soliciting help from the board, BORED, of education to assist them in their campaign. They went so far as to say only one or two, again, BORED, board members, supported their position and had pointed questions for other members. From what I could see from the really poor quality video, that board pretty much sat there shaking their heads yes and wringing their hands in what appeared to be agreement with Bonnie Gabalot and Amy Tollroad. Okay, I can only assume that's me. I had to laugh when a board member actually called out the other members by offering a motion that said the Board of Ed would not support the Common Core or standardized testing. When push came to shove, the maroons in that room voted that they would not support that position, and by their vote they said that they support the Common Core and Park tests and talk about LOL. And here's where it gets really below the line. And again, whenever I come here, I always try and keep it professional and above the line, and this is just, beyond. So what happened next is a riot. Gabalot and Tollroad are now silent on that and are on to another cause, student placement. Through all their wild claims and reams of public information that they have gone on about, it looks like the kids in Marlboro are doing better than ever. What it looks like they're concerned about is that some kids may not get into accelerated programs in the elementary and middle schools because they just don't measure up to what is required to get into them. Here is the secret nobody's willing to talk about. What they really mean is that their kids aren't getting into special classes because they don't measure up, which couldn't be further from the truth, by the way. Because they don't measure up to the academic performance of the Indian, capitalized, and capitalized Chinese communities. Those communities have a total focus on academic and extracurricular activities that enhance learning, while the soccer moms are busy driving the kids from sport to dance, getting waxed, and to everything else other than academics. During the campaign against testing, mother after mother complained about the 3rd and 4th grade kids having to do homework till 10 at night. You never saw a single Chinese or Indian parent complain. In fact, Ms. Riddell, who is Chinese, said at the meeting that getting into these programs is the driving force of the Chinese community, or something to that effect. I understand there will be plenty of cheese at future board meetings to go along with the wine. So that's the post on NJ.com in the Marlboro Forums, and my question, and it was posted by Benji Fran. And my question is, have you or do you post under the name Benji Fran? You can answer or not. I have a lot of reasons why I do believe so, but rather than expand on that, I'll just plain out ask.
Well,
Thank you.
we'll have to respond at the end, as we always do.
Thank you.
And I'll let Bonnie respond at the end, of course. Anyone else in the public wish to address the board? Sure, come on.
Erica Boylan, 27 Edie Drive. Two quick things. First, I didn't even have time to write my own remarks, but Dr. Hibbs, I want you to know that I wasn't looking for attacks. I was just more so telling my peers to stop moaning and complaining on Facebook about everything and come voice your opinion, and that's how it came back. So, not a personal thing. Yeah. Now a personal thing.
Okay.
I have a question. No, I know I reached out to you last week or 2 weeks ago about policy, and then I reached out again because you were going to get back to me. I'm not, busy time of year. So my question is, I don't know if the board knows, this.
You're right.
Oop.
And I did not get back to you. I apologize.
That's okay. I know it's a busy time of year.
It's not in policy.
It's not in the policy.
It's not. So
my question, so my thing
clarify
is, and this is just my personal opinion, okay?
Yep.
Nobody has to, just my personal opinion. I know in the school where my children are, we are told from administration that it is the board policy. I was told 2 years ago when we are not allowed to collect more than $5 for a gift for the teacher. And if that's the policy, then that's fine. I will always do my own thing. And I think, again, personal opinion, where most of my friends that I know of, they give a gift to the lady that scrubs their toilets, a week's salary, and the nail lady, and the mail person, and these people that spend so much time with our children that we can't give more than $5. So I was going to say, if it is a policy, personal opinion, I think $5 is more insulting than sweet. It should be nothing and let people do something on their own, or make it consistent across the district, because I know one of my friends at Asher collected 15. My friends at Tofino received much more. And I think, yes, it's hard. Money is an awkward thing. But if it's not a policy, something has to be, because it's not fair to our teachers.
What's that?
Respond after. Okay.
Yeah, you could respond after. And there was one other thing. Sorry. Is there anybody else that wants to speak?
You done there?
It wasn't the PTA, it was administration. But it wasn't.
I need the microphone. Sorry.
Stacy Rothman, 83 Steeplechase. I have to respond to that.
It was administration.
I didn't hear your name.
Okay.
Stacy Rothman.
So,
Okay.
You're supposed to direct your comments to the chair, please.
Okay.
okay.
Stacy, you can take that out.
Take it out. Say it's easy.
Okay, so I'm going to respond to that because she's talking about Dugan, and I'm the PTA president, but you all know that already. So when I came on board, I just followed suit at what we collected for the teacher gifts. And it was a low amount. But I looked at it for a number of reasons. And honestly, my plan was to raise it for next year. But what you don't know behind the scenes and what I have to take into consideration is sometimes it is a hardship for families. And it's really not, it's not for me, it's not for many people, but it really is. So we came up with a small amount that we give to the teachers. And I know for me, since I'm only giving $5 for the class, I then go out and get my own gift. I was really considering raising that next year. It's not policy, as far as I knew, because I knew other schools were doing different things, and I spoke to Mrs. Gondala about that, about the amounts, and she was researching and looking into the other schools, and I was going to raise it next year. I didn't do it this year because when it came to my attention, it was already late in the game, and I was letting this year go, but I was looking to raise it a little bit next year. But I also know just from running all the events that it is a hardship on some parents. And we're also asking them to contribute $15 for the 3 parties. So I have to take that into account too. But it's not policy. I didn't think it was policy. But I am going to raise it next year.
So it's not, just to be clear, it's not policy. Okay, so I just want to make sure.
No, because I knew all the schools. I knew the different schools. Some schools were 15, some were 20, we were 5. We were the lowest. But I also knew it would be a hardship on many people. Some people don't even give the 5.
We'll answer the burning question as soon as we're done with public session.
So, okay, well, I just wanted to clarify that it was a PTA thing.
Thank you.
So I'll take responsibility for it, but there was a reason behind it, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
And I just want to say really quick, thank you, Dr. Hibbs, for Marlboro Education Foundation. You were superintendent of the day. You gave that as, and my children were
Your boys
superintendent of the day.
and were adorable.
In Giants jerseys, mind you.
They were.
That was
All
purposeful
came to
because
Giants.
Mr. Hendrickson said that he was an Eagles fan. So they said, Eagles fan, we will come in our Giants jerseys. And so they did, just to torture you.
You know what?
As
Okay.
I only expect
Turns
my
out
boys
it's
to
fair
do.
play. You wait till September.
Oh, it's all you.
Okay.
Thank you. And they had a great time. Thank you so much.
Wait, does anybody else wish to address the board? Ladies?
All right, I looked, I found my other thing. I'm just curious, sorry.
No, but I mean, I thought you were finished. Go ahead.
No, I said I had to remember, and then Stacy jumped up. Do you want me to say it?
Go ahead, go.
Erica Boylan, 2780 Drive. Quick question for personal. I was just curious why we, and I don't know, it was probably out there, I just don't know, why we added the half-day Monday. I'm sure it was told, and I missed it somewhere.
Okay, we'll respond.
I was curious why we didn't take it off.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address the board on any item? Okay, seeing none. I know you want to
Oh,
respond.
no, please let me be last.
Okay.
I'll have too much fun.
Okay. Bonnie, I want to respond to you. First of all, we sit through a lot of people coming to the microphone, and yourself and Mrs. Tolan, when they come, you come for educational reasons. And I'll sit here all night for educational reasons. And whether or not the board agrees 100% of what you got to say, I am myself very appreciative when members of the public come out for the good of our children. And whether it's for placement, whether it's for park, whether it's for Common Core. And again, whether we agree or not, it's about having an intellectual conversation, which we really don't have a conversation. We have an answer, and it ends because we can't do a conversation. But it gets the point across both ways, and that's important. So I thank you and Mrs. Tolan for your time. You've spent week after week coming up to speak to the board for your issues. As far as that website goes, I personally pay no attention to it. I think anybody that spends their time reading it needs to find better things to do in their life, because if that's what you do in your life, read or write on it, you have serious problems in your life. That's what I'll say about that website. You want to speak about the other things?
Sure. I'll be happy to look into Monroe. A good friend of mine was just named superintendent. I'll give him a call tomorrow. 40% just sounds high, and I don't know what failure rate means, but I'll be happy to dig into it and to see if we can have some data that would be of use to us. Bonnie, I'm not going to pay this back to you because you paid it to me. I'm going to do it genuinely. You came here with Amy and you talked about the fact that you did not like Park. I agree with you. I think 2 testing sessions was just too much. I think we had too much time where we assess for standardized tests, and next year there's no more EOI or PBA, and they're going to put them both together, and I think everybody is happier about this. Where Common Core goes, that's yet to be determined. But I will also say that you have always, always, always been respectful in every exchange we've ever had. So I want to thank you for your passion. Erica, I will be happy to look into what everybody else does. I just want to make sure I understand, and I kind of need to clarify. We're talking about a class gift for a teacher, right? So Jen, my wife, would collect the $5 per parent, and they give a gift card to Wawa for twice? Gotcha. Okay. But you still have the ability of doing something separate. No harm, no foul, right? So if you want to send in something separate, okay. Okay. I think that's that from my point of view, if there was nothing else and you wanted to send in more than just 5, you were told just 5, that would, I think there could be an issue with that. But if you can send in something separately, I think that's more than fair. I would like to thank you, Stacy, because it's not often that someone jumps up to defend Eric Hibbs. You literally ran to the microphone. So I think next year at the president's meeting, I can't call, are you president next year? Good, I'm going to put you right next to me. You can place of honor, just no Giants jerseys.
But we're not in charge of that.
No.
Every PTA,
Yes.
every PTA
Yeah, I
is
have
in charge
nothing
of
to
their
do with
own.
that.
It really has nothing to do with the board. We don't
Yeah.
determine what you give, what your PTA gives, so.
And there is no policy.
Yes. Policy,
No
the word policy, when we use that, really, it's really the board policies that exist on nepotism, on HIB. We're talking about procedures, how we do things. So the procedure was, but I appreciate you jumping up and sticking up for me. Thank you so much. I know you probably hated doing every minute of that because you'd like to just sit there. But Stacy, thank you for everything. And that, the half day. So half day, why did it get added and not on April 10th? I think April 10th would have been the Friday, which should have been our take back. The long and short is I had 16 drivers that were set to be out. 16, Sind? 19 drivers that are going to be out, which is roughly 25% of our driving staff on the Friday. On the Friday, so the take back day should have been April 10th, which would have been the Friday. Okay, that would have been our official take back, because other days had already passed that we would have taken back. Yeah, we couldn't have staffed it, coupled with the fact that we had over 60 staff members that were slated to be out. So at the end of the day, it wasn't a safe environment for kids, which is why we had to make the very difficult call to tack on to the 22nd. That's it, sir.
Money? You want to talk?
Can I say something on policies and regulations first? Policies and regulations, I'm just going to say, on the website is a search engine for policies and regulations that Mr. Vaughn was able to facilitate getting a link to, so you can link if you have questions. It's there, so you can do a word search for it. So there should be, you can always do that little search if you have any questions. As far as you, Bonnie Gabazon, I have never been disrespectful to you. Maybe in your little mind I have been, but I have never. Now I'm being disrespectful to you because you have been consistently disrespectful to me. As far as that post on NJ.com, Mr. Messinger, you can back me up if you want. We've been trying to figure out who that entity is for years and years and years, going back to Freehold Regional days. No one can figure it out. We have thought we've known who it is by some of the posts. It isn't me. I wish I was so funny as that person, but no, not me. And if you think it's me, you're listening to the wrong people. But again, not me. But that's okay. If you want to listen to those people chiming in your ear, go right ahead, and you can listen to them. You've been boxed out of places, and because of who you are, keep going. You can accuse me of things. You can stand up and say that I've been nasty to you. I have tried to help you and Amy. I've sent you information. I've sent Amy information on Park. You've chosen to stand up here multiple times with Amy and malign me. Continue. Be my guest. You know what they say about people who assume things. You fit right into that category.
Okay. That'll bring us to page...
Can I say something?
Sure.
I know this was not in regards to the rest of the board, but I just wanted to say that I'm sorry for any disrespect that you felt.
Yeah, don't apologize for me.
I'm part of a whole board, and that's the only reason why I said that.
Right.
Yes, sir.
I can't apologize for the whole board. If I could, I would, but know that you have my personal apology because nobody who comes up in public should have to deal with that. So I apologize.
Yes. Excuse me, Michael.
Sure.
Excuse me. She got up and asked a question of me. I answered the question.
She has a name.
Let's
not turn this into a...
She asked me. Excuse me.
Let's not back and
Excuse
forth.
me.
Talk one at a time, please.
She got up and asked a question of me. I answered the question. As far as her, you want to walk out? You're rude too. She got up and asked a question of me. As far as her advocacy for Park, her advocacy for the assessments, her advocacy for for her things that she's gotten up and spoken, congratulations. She's done a good job. She's gotten the board to listen to them. I have no problem with any of those things. As I said, I've sent emails to Amy. I've tried to help them. That's fine. If she wants to stand there and shake her head and say I haven't, I have the emails to prove it. If any of the board members wish to see them, that's fine. But as far as standing here and making an accusation that I have, as far as an accusation, that was an accusation, I resent it. The fact that she stood there and read that, that's on her. People blow that site, it's ridiculous. The things that have been written through the years about my family on there, and in accordance with Mrs. Dean's family, you have to take it for where it comes from. As I said, Mr. Messenger knows that entity has been around for absolutely years and years and years. Whatever.
I'm going to move on.
No.
No.
Not. You were disrespected one time, and you didn't bring it up. And some of us wanted to apologize at that time when you were called, and Amy were joined at the hip and called Siamese twins. It was disrespectful at that time. So I understand. It's a back and forth. You had every right to read it if that's what you felt. Just thanks for being the advocate that you are. And I don't have it in front of me, but I remember reading it. You and Amy were acknowledged at the county level for your work with Park. Am I not wrong? Acknowledged with Monmouth County. So thank you very much. And for you, for everything you do, and I'm sorry that you have taken that. And I'm not apologizing for Mrs. Rosenwald. She's responsible for her own actions. We all are. But when I sat here and I was attacked for hours on hours, week after week, I never lashed out at anybody after they came and they called me everything but a woman. So, and they're entitled to their opinion. It's okay. But I didn't lash back out. So thanks.
Really, no, public session's over, but you gotta wait for the second one. I'm sorry. You have to wait for.
It hasn't been an hour, Michael.
But didn't we close public
I
participation?
closed it. I closed it.
Follow the procedure.
Just trying to say, I'm very comfortable with
No,
even
no.
it's
You
about
got
me.
it. You got it.
and-
You got it, Bonnie. You got it. You got it.
Close it.
Bonnie. Okay. I'm going to move on to financial and business operations matters. On page 5, we have 33 resolutions plus a addendum. Pages 5 through 19. Do we have any changes before we read this, Cindy?
No.
Okay, Dara, would you mind reading, please?
The superintendent of schools submits the following resolutions for approvals: 1, transfers; 2, list of bills; 3, secretary monthly reconciliation reports; 4, travel; 5, travel, J. Lou Rudell; 6, state contract purchase, custom band Inc. for tires and tire-related services for the 2015-2016 school year; harassment, intimidation, bullying report; 8, amended resolution, annual evaluation process; 9, award of merit pay 2014-2015 school year employment contract for superintendent of schools; 10, award of merit pay 2014-2015 school year employment contract for school business administrator, board secretary, and other transfers; 12, American Red Cross; 13, renewal of district policies; 14, workers' compensation insurance; 15, dental benefits; 16, transfer of current year surplus to maintain reserve accounts; 17, security drills; 18, acceptance of No Child Left Behind appellations for the 2015-2016 school year; 16, acceptance of IDEA allocations for the 2015-2016 school year; 20, approval of contract Resnick's consultants. 21, approval of contract Resnick consultants. 22, approval of contract Interactive Kids. 23, approval of contract Tamka Educational Products, LLC. 24, approval of agreement with Marlboro Township for school resource officer. 25, authorization for Marlboro Middle School Select Choir, Wind Ensemble, Jazz Band, and Griffin Orchestra to participate in music trip. 26, authorization for Marlboro Memorial Middle School Jazz Band, Select Choir, and Select Orchestra to participate in music trip. 27, donation. 28, approval of contract garbage and recycling collection and disposal. 29, approval of contract landscaping services. 30, resolution authorizing the submission of project documents to the New Jersey Department of Education. 31, out-of-district placement for the 2015-2016 school year. 32, state contract purchases. 33, purchase and installation of components to upgrade heating system at Frank J. Dugan Elementary School. I so move.
I don't think we,
Oh, sorry. Where is the addendum?
Here.
34, approval of proposal for professional services for pre-referendum work capital projects. 35, approval of extra personal day, June 22nd, 2015. I so move.
Thank you, Dara. Seconded by John. Discussion on financial and business. Victoria.
Cindy, I have a couple of questions on the list of bills.
Okay.
I just want clarification, that's all. For the 27090 for the mass notification system, is that the 911, Dr. Hibbs?
Give me a page.
Right here.
Page 1.
Where are you at?
7.
I'm on list of bills, complete security system. Oh, on here, sorry. I was reading it on my notes.
Are you on transfers?
No, list of bills, yes.
List of bills. That, okay, that's for the 911, that correct, that we watched at the middle school? That thing?
Sid, is it?
I think, let me
Is
go
it
back and pull
share
the bill.
911?
Is
I
the
think
share
so.
911, that 27? What actually is, it says on the CDW government for 11,000, It says primarily for 2 active panels and 1 active table.
In
Title
the
3.
ESL, it's for the ESL program, in the grants that we purchased. That's grant funds that purchased them.
Okay. And the last thing is if you could do me the favor, I know we discussed it in the construction committee with the Bayer Ford, whatever you call that, for the $55,000 for the replacement of the sanding truck. Can you just go over that with the entire board? Because I know we didn't, I don't remember discussing it with the entire board. I know we did in the committee.
Yeah, what we needed a dump truck because ours was falling apart, literally. And otherwise, we wouldn't be able to plow, we wouldn't be able to do anything and stuff and do what we needed. So we needed to replace this, so that's what that was for.
So, Vicki?
Yeah, that was it. I just wanted to clarify those list of bills.
Debbie, you have a question?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I was talking about
On travel for the science teachers, basically, and administrator, is this coincide with the new e-science? I guess that's more for Dr. Hibbs.
Which one? Where are we?
For the travel for our science teachers, I know that we're starting to piloting the e-science.
No, I don't believe so. So give me 1 second. Let me pull it up.
There's Mike.
Yeah. Mr. Balone, you want to take that? It's next gen, right?
The next generation.
It's not.
This is for next generation science standards. E-science will be a resource for that, but this workshop does not directly pertain to e-science. It really directly pertains to the next generation science standards.
And it's safe to assume that it goes back to all the middle school science teachers?
Yes.
Correct.
Extremely safe.
They're in the,
Okay.
they're in the,
Thank you.
Hair on it.
I have a couple more questions for Cindy. For the renewals, Cindy, as far as, 13, 14, 15, I guess, just for the record, any major changes from the last
no.
policies that we've had?
We're staying with the same one, and actually, the same company with Zurich. We're saving budgeted dollars, $16,803 in our property casualty, and in workers' comp, we're saving $47,405. So we did well. We're staying with the same company. We're very happy with Zurich, and it has worked very, very well. I'm sorry. So I think that's the, other than that, I will tell you that we did not, Zurich, we're staying with Zurich because their prices came in so well, but it is very hard to get somebody to write our policies because of our size.
I just didn't have last year's to compare.
That's okay.
So that's good, thank you. And I guess the same question for 28 and 29, the approval of contracts for landscape and garbage.
No.
Are we looking approximately the same numbers, or?
A slight increase.
Nothing significant?
I don't know off the top of my head exactly what the price was for last year, but it was a bid. Both of them were a bid. It was
We did them
2-year
again
bid.
this year?
Yeah.
No, we didn't bid them. It was the second year for the landscaping, third year for garbage. We'll be going back out again.
So they're in the contract already to increase?
Yes.
No crazy changes?
No.
And for number 24, for the SRO, I know we're paying her $45,000. Is there a percentage that we pay versus a percentage at the township? Is that
No, this has been, when we negotiated with them, it was a flat 45. So whatever
else she's getting is from the.
They increase,
over
we
there.
pay $45,000.
It's over there, and it is more than.
So our 45 will
45.
not increase then?
Correct.
Oh, way more.
Okay.
And while we're there, we should thank Township for their support, because we
Yes.
end up with 2 incredible SRO officers.
Absolutely.
That
Great.
at 100% are deeply embedded into the fabric of Marlboro.
I agree with you. All right, thank you.
Then you have while Cindy's looking at that, I just wanted to clarify for the public, item 33, the heating system upgrade at Dugan, which we all know is so badly needed, in no way will overlap or be redone, or this is not
It's not
bad
redundant.
money after good money or good money after bad money. This needs to be done, is a do now, to get the heat working in Dugan. What we do, if our referendum goes forward with other things, and what you talk about, what we're going to fix and not fix, this needs to be done. It will not be redone at that point. This is now. Sure.
Yes.
Yes.
27, page 14.
Absolutely.
How much is this going to cost on a yearly basis to run? And how much is supplies?
I'm sorry?
How much is this going to
Which,
cost?
I'm sorry.
27, page 14.
The laminator.
Because this only has 1 year service contract. How much is the service contract on a yearly basis? And how much are the supplies for it?
It's something that the school has. They're replacing the old one and bringing in a new
Oh, so
one. So it's just a
it's just a
replacement.
replacement, okay.
Yes.
That's very nice of the PTA.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they've been doing this. They'll ask and stuff. So a couple of the schools over the years have bought us laminators. So it's very helpful.
No, I understand that. I just was curious because it didn't
Not a
say
new.
how much it was. So this is just a replacement for something they already have?
Correct.
Okay.
John?
Question on number 13. Is there, that's a insurance?
Yes.
Yeah. Is there any change this year versus last year?
No, I think I responded to Mrs. Matos about that same thing. No, we actually have savings of 13,000.
Almost 70. About 70 all in, right? 40,
Yeah.
40 something in.
Yeah, that works.
About a
Between the
$70,000
two, between
savings.
13 and 14.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, seeing none, Cindy, please call the roll.
Mrs. Cow?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. Matos?
Yes.
Mrs. Rosenwald?
No on, in the transfers, no on the $45,000 for the bags, the transfer for the bags.
Mhm.
And in the list of bills, anything connected to that purchase.
There's nothing in the list of bills for
Okay,
that.
so then yes on everything else.
Mrs. Dean? Yes. Mr. Dwyer?
Transfers, no on 45,000 Chromebook and everything, yes on everything else.
Mrs. Ennie?
Abstain on number 9 and number 10 because I am conflicted. And yes on everything else.
And Mr. Lalonsky?
Yes, and congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Looking forward to having the board for another 5 years.
Thank you.
Okay, curriculum matters. Debbie, page 20.
Sorry.
All right.
That was ahead.
Side 20.
Curriculum matters, sorry. The superintendent of schools submits the following resolution for approval. Number 1, interscholastic athletic competitions, fall sports, 2015-16 school year. I so move.
Thank you, Deb. Seconded by Craig. Discussion on curriculum. Seeing none, Cindy, please call the roll.
Mrs. Rosenwald?
Yes.
Mrs. Dean? Mrs.
Oh,
Dean?
yes.
I'm sorry. Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Ennie?
Yes.
Mrs. Cow?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. Matos?
Yes.
And Mr. Lalonde?
Yes, that brings us to personnel matters, page 21. We have 96 resolutions plus an addendum. Do we have any changes?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, page 27.
What?
The 8th name from the bottom. Take her off.
What's the name?
Dustine Sweetis.
Yeah.
Completely off?
Take her off.
Oh, because she's on the,
She's going to be resigning in the addendum.
right.
Page 38, number 46. The 3 teachers listed for Defino should be Dugan. Page 42, number 55, the second person, salary should be, the hourly rate should be $18.93.
Which one is that?
45.
Page 42, number 55.
Oh.
Second name down,
Second name down, Phyllis Cataldo.
1893.
Okay.
Okay. Page 48, number 65. It should read for a total of 8 days, which includes 1 day for preparation. and it should be a not to exceed of $1,946.80. Number 66, it should read 28 days, includes 1 day for preparation, with a not to exceed of $6,813.80.
It's for all, just so you know, that's all the days of ESY for extended school year.
Page 57, fourth name from the bottom, Justine Sweetis.
Hold on.
Comes off.
Okay.
57, okay.
Number
Page
76, that's it.
Go above it.
75, 75 it carries over.
Mhm.
So it's the eighth name from the bottom on the top of 57. On page 58, the last name on Resolution 77, again, comes off. 78, third name from the bottom, again, she comes off. Page 59, Resolution 79, last name comes off. I think that's it.
Thank you. Tori, you ready?
Read quick.
Yeah. Your turn.
I thought Mr. Marshall over there.
Well, you want to relinquish this great honor of 96
Yeah.
resolutions?
Okay. So are we doing the first half, Mike, and then go?
Yeah, do it
Okay.
the 30, first half, whatever you feel comfortable.
Okay.
Stop when you...
All right, personnel matters. The superintendent of schools submits the following resolutions for approval. 1, retirement. 2, resignations. 3, employment certificated staff. 4, reemployment certificated staff. 5, reemployment, reassignment, transfer certificated staff. 6, reassignments. 7, approval of contracts, superintendent of schools. 8, non-aligned certificated administrators. 9, non-aligned certificated administrators. 10, non-aligned support staff. 11, school aides, 2015-2016 school year. 12, amended assistant after-school activities. 13, curriculum, mentor, resource facilitators. 14, kindergarten pacing guide math. 15, ESL pacing guide. 16, ESL screening. 17, kindergarten screening. 18, expectations for professional practice, technology, trainers. 19, curriculum writing revisions, technology 8-1 and 8.2, aligned to NJCCCS or Common Core State Standards, grades 1 through 8. 20, curriculum writing revisions, technology 8.1 and 8.2, aligned to NJCCCS or Common Core State Standards, grades 1 through 8. 21, curriculum writing, art grades K through 5. 22, curriculum writing, art, grades 6 through 8. 23, curriculum writing, health, kindergarten. 24, curriculum writing, health, grades 1 through 5. 25, curriculum writing, physical education, grades K through 8. 26, curriculum writing, health and family life, grades 6 through 8. 27, curriculum writing, English, language arts, revising units of study, grades 1 through 5. 28, curriculum writing, English, language arts, revising and developing new common assessments, grades 1 through 5. 26, curriculum writing, revisions, English, language arts, revising units of study, grades 6 through 8. 30, curriculum writing, English, language arts, revising and developing new common assessments, grades 6 through 8. 31, curriculum writing, gifted and talented, creating G&T STEM units, grades 2 through 5. 32, curriculum writing revisions, gifted and talented, revising placement criteria and assessments for G&T, grades K through 5. 33, curriculum writing, gifted and talented, reading enrichment, grades K through 3rd. 34, curriculum writing revisions, math, align envisions 2012 to Common Core State Standards, kindergarten. 35, curriculum writing revisions, math, align envisions 2012 to Common Core State Standards, grades 1 through 2. I'll stop right there.
Sure. First 35 resolutions. Questions, comments? John?
The only comment I have to make, there will be some items tonight I'll be saying no on that are related to Common Core. Has nothing to do with the teachers, has nothing to do with it's a Common Core issue, and I have to stay true to what I said about not spending another dollar on Common Core. Other items in there, curriculum, writing revisions that are required by state, as I understand it, have to be there. So When I say no, that's why I'm saying.
Thank you, sir. Deb?
I'd like to know for number 11, the school aides. I wanted to make sure that we don't have some amazing changes that the board is missing as far as letting many go. I'll never let myself live that down when I missed some assistants that were let go under my belt and I didn't notice. I just wanted to make sure there were no major changes that, we're taking. I'm sure you remember. I don't want to be approving something and we're taking away so many positions that we're not aware of.
Okay. Mr. Vaughn?
There are no school aid positions being cut. These are the aides that work in the lunchroom.
Okay, I know.
Mhm. We had quite a
They're
few
very
that
important too.
Absolutely. We had quite a few that actually retired or resigned this year, so we'll be hiring some new ones this summer.
I guess, Mr. Ballone, under our notes, you were here for us. So I guess I should ask you the question. Numbers 27 and 28 for curriculum writing for grades 1 through 5 and 1 through 5 for the revising and developing common assessments. I know that last few years you've been saying that teachers have to volunteer for this, correct? That still stays the same?
That's correct.
Okay. I'm just wondering why, if I'm not mistaken, there were only 3 names that were the same for common assessment developing as the actual revising for the units of study. I just I would assume that it would be almost the same crowd.
I'm going to hand this to Mr. Bowman
Sure.
because he handles ELA specifically
Sure.
and the actual names that are brought to us.
27 to 28.
Thank you. Which numbers?
27 and 28.
27 and 28. So I believe your question is why teachers who were on the original committee that created the common assessments.
Who we're approving tonight on number 27, they're doing the curriculum writing for revising the units of study, but what we heard from the public throughout the year was that sometimes these assessments did not reflect their actual chapters. So I just want to make sure that we are intertwining the two groups of people if we're paying them to do so.
Michael,
Go ahead.
All right, so I think, Debbie, is your question, why are the people that are in 27 not the same people that exist in 28?
Well, I understand that they have to volunteer for this.
Yes.
But why are we not requiring the people who are writing or revising units of study are also doing assessments that go along with it rather than having two separate
Okay,
groups?
sorry. Now I understand. Yeah, we are dependent on the teachers that apply, and some teachers would apply for one committee and not the other. So in that case, some of them chose to apply for the units of study revision, others for the common assessment. We try to have coherence and consistency by having the units of study revised first, because to make sure the common assessments are aligned with the units of study. As long as one committee finishes their work before the other begins, there's no problem with referring to the units of study and making them the common assessments consistent with the units of study.
I'm not trying to say any more than what we're here to do, but since we're approving a stipend, I want to also make sure that we're approving 2 sets of stipends that are working cohesively under, I'm assuming you're...
Yes, I'm supervising both committees, and we are
100%.
coordinating them
Thank you.
closely.
That's all.
Yep. Actually, some of the work on each will be, interchangeable. The standards will be listed in the units of study, and the units of study will refer to the common assessment.
Thank you. Yes.
Craig, Vaughn, on number 11 on the school aides, can you remind me, it says salary subject to change pending review of employees' attendance record. How does their attendance record affect the salary they receive?
Their contract renewal is dependent upon their attendance. So we put that in there as it's a procedural safeguard in the resolution.
Their renewals depending on their...
If they don't come, we don't hire them back.
It's part of their contract.
Okay. The other question was, maybe I'm not reading it right. It says, number 12, amended assistant after-school activities. Is we're approving for the remainder of the 2014-15 school year. We're done. So what are we approving?
It's a retroactive approval.
Yeah,
Okay.
we raised it from 24 to 26 sessions.
Okay.
Between last month's board meeting and tonight,
Okay,
she had to
just
go
wanted
2
to
extra
clarify.
sessions.
Okay,
And that was IEP driven, correct, Mr. Vaughn?
Special education driven.
okay.
Yep.
Just wanted to, thank you.
Good, Bonnie?
Number 33 on page 34. Erica had gotten up earlier and had mentioned a reading program for the K-3. So the question I have is, this is G&T reading enrichment, but doesn't that also play off of the reading program for K-3 also? So if we don't, and that's not the first time I've heard that we really don't have a reading program, that it was knit together from a lot of different sources, that we don't have a what? Oh, K-5, whatever. I understood it'd be K-3, but a like a book series or whatever, you know. So talk to me about that.
Michael, could you also address the whole concept as well, please?
Okay, so the item 33 is specifically the gifted and talented reading enrichment pullout, which is not connected with any reading program on the primary level. No, so it is a completely independently written curriculum for advanced readers.
Okay.
Michael, could you also briefly address the concept of our reading program?
Yeah, so our the primary reading program now, we are looking into a reading program, since the primary grades, the students are learning to read rather than reading to learn, which begins in the upper elementary. So rather than rush into any program, we are looking at programs that I think should be phased in beginning with kindergarten and brought into the elementary grades as the students move up, rather than, you know, choose one and impose it on people. We're soliciting feedback from teachers, beginning with kindergarten.
So when you say you're looking at it, so will you be looking at it for like this September, the following September?
We'd like to pilot a program soon in kindergarten, and then if it's successful and we're happy with the program, then with your approval, move it to first grade, second grade, yeah.
It would start growing with kindergarten and then move up with the kids
Yes,
that way?
exactly.
It would just not be thrown in K-5, it would...
Right. It would begin in kindergarten and move up year by year.
Not like what the state did with Common Core.
Exactly.
No, not that.
Thank you, sir. Gianna?
Yeah. A question on number 52 on page 51.
We're not up to that.
We're not up to that yet.
Oh, all right. But I do have a...
On the first 36.
Okay.
Up to 35.
35, up to first 36.
I do, for item number 3, yeah, on page 22, there is a new position for math facilitator, and we discussed about this one. We have none,
None.
then we have 2.
One at each middle school.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I think for the reason that we have none, now all of a sudden we have 2, that I think we made 2 big steps.
You don't have 2. So what you have is, you didn't have any at either middle school. You have 1 now going to Memorial and 1 now going to middle.
That's right. So I think, well, my point is that I think we jumped too fast. So I would like to take this one out. How should I vote?
No.
Well, no, yes.
For everything?
No, just for that one.
Just for that one. Okay. So I'm going to vote say no and give the reason that we are fine, that we, without this facilitator, we're doing good. And also, number of the students are decrease rather than increase. So we have one for each school. I think it's a big step.
But not
We
in the
didn't
middle
have
school.
one for each school, right?
You have none in the middle school.
We had
That's
none at
right.
the middle school.
I know, we're doing good
So you want one to
without
cover
them.
both middle schools? Is
That's
that what you're
right.
saying? Okay.
That's right. I think
We already approved the
discussed-
position.
I'm still holding my position.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
We already approved it.
Okay.
I'm just a little confused about 34 and 35, line and vision math, the Common Core. Mr. Ballone, if you could help me out. I thought Envision was already aligned last year or 2 years ago. I can't remember.
Envision is currently, we have a 2009 textbook, but we use the online version of 2012. What we found throughout this school year was a lot of teachers were teaching concepts that were not aligned to their grade level. They were teaching standards, so we're realigning the Envision program, the resource for the curriculum, to match the Common Core state standards.
So we're keeping Envision.
We currently are. There appears to be, as we dig a little deeper into the Envision.
Got to be in the microphone, I'm sorry.
She is.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I couldn't hear it. Okay.
As we dig a little deeper into the Envision textbook, we are realizing that the lessons are misaligned to the standards. We're diving deep into those standards, actually reading each standard to make sure they address the lesson, and we're finding that there are discrepancies.
Okay. Thank
Anybody else? Okay, continue, please.
Okay, I'm sorry. I want to correct. I misspoke in response to Mrs. Dean on item 11. I believe it, right, was your question about that. That actually, their contract calls for them to be paid for 168 days, and then at the end of the year, we calculate how many actual days they worked. And then they get basically for lack of a better term, a 21st paycheck to compensate them for any days above 168. That's why you see in that same resolution for the 14-15 year, where they're getting compensated for an additional 6 days.
Okay. You ready? Moving on, number 36, curriculum writing revisions, math, revising common performance tasks, grades 1 and 2. 37, curriculum writing revisions, math, revising common assessments, grades 1 to 2. 38, curriculum writing revisions, math, revising common performance tasks, grades 5C and 6 through 8. Number 39, curriculum writing revisions, math, revising units of study, grades 5C, 6 through 8. 40, curriculum writing revisions, math, revising common assessments to be PARC-aligned, grades 5C and 6 through 8. 41, curriculum writing revisions, math, revising common performance tasks, grades 3 through 5 and 4C. 42, curriculum writing revisions, math, revising units of study, grades 3 through 5 and 4C. 43, curriculum writing revisions, math, revising common assessments to be PARC-aligned, grades 3 through 5 and 4C. 44, curriculum writing, science, developing common assessments, grades 6 through 8. 45, curriculum writing, science, aligned to NGSS, grades 6 through 8. 46, curriculum writing revisions, social studies, revising elementary common assessments, and update to NJCCCS, grades 1 through 5. 47, curriculum writing, social studies, developing common assessments, and update to NJCCCS, grades 6 through 8. 48, special education, English, language arts, create accommodated text passages to align with new common assessments, grades 1 through 5. 49, special education, English, language arts, create accommodated text passages to align with new common assessments, grades 6 through 8. 50, special education, math pacing guides, grades 1 through 5. 51, special education, math pacing guides, grades 6 through 8. 52, nurses manual, standard operating procedures formatting. 53, 2015 extended school year program for students with autism, teachers. 54, 2015 extended school year program for students with autism, speech language specialists. 55, 2015 extended school year program for students with autism, instructional assistants. 56, 2015 extended school year program for students with special needs, teachers. 57, 2015 extended school year program for students with special needs, speech language specialist. 58, 2015 extended school year program for students with special needs, instructional assistants. 59, 2015 extended school year special education program, school nurse. 60, 2015 extended school year special education programs, substitute certificated staff. 61, 2015 extended school year special education programs, substitute school nurses. 62, 2015 extended school year special education programs, substitute instructional assistants. 63, 2015 extended school year program for students with special needs, teacher. 64, 2015 extended school year program for students with special needs, teacher. 65, 2015 extended school year program for students with special needs, certificated physical therapist. 66, 2015 extended school year program for students with special needs, certified occupational therapy assistant. 67, 2015 extended school year program for out-of-district instructional assistant. 68, 2015 extended school year programs, school monitor. And 69, extracurricular activities advisors. I'll stop there.
Up there, okay. So we're through to 69, which was on page 49. Correct. Jan had one.
Before, so I'm going to
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
For 52, we have 3 additional nurses. I wanted to know what's the reason we're getting 3.
No. What they're doing, John, is they're going to revise our nurses manual for the standard operating procedures. So,
Okay. 3, are they going to work on the revising manuals?
You got
okay,
it.
thanks.
Greg?
It's a question, Cindy, I don't know if you know the answer or not, but it's kind of like a two-part. One is, any of these items that are related to Common Core, the stipends that are related to Common Core, do we know what those total by any chance? Any idea?
I can do that and email the board tomorrow.
Okay, but my question is, if our state government or whoever's going to be responsible for it decides that we're no longer going to have Common Core, what happens to all of these items that we're voting on tonight? Do they stay in? Are they no longer applicable?
Right, I'll take it. So here's what you know regarding Common Core. The governor has tasked Commissioner Hespy with, by winter break, giving him a new set of standards. It's an absolute not feasible task. So in my opinion, one of a couple things will happen with that. Number one, there'll be no change at all of the standards. Number two, there could be a catastrophic level of change, which I don't think will happen because there's simply not enough time and resources. And number three would be there's just a little tweak. But in order for us to abandon Common Core, the question, it's not as simple as the governor just simply yanking us out. But if the decision is made at a level where it stands, then there's going to be a whole new set of standards, and we're going to have to stop, and we're going to have to figure out where we are. I don't think that in any way, shape, or form could they change the standards substantially to, by essentially December 21st or whatever the winter break end point is. The other part of the governor's address that was interesting is that while he essentially said in that conversation, he said a few things that, in my opinion, aren't consistent with what we hear, or at least what I hear. He said that, one of the things that he hears too often is that the Common Core state standards are not rigorous enough. I never ever heard in any way, shape, or form that they are not too rigorous enough. The other thing that he said is that he hears consistently that people in New Jersey are upset that we didn't develop our own standards. I've also never heard that complaint as well. The really puzzling part is the governor spoke out against Common Core, which is his prerogative to do. But then at the end, he spoke in favor of Park, which really baffled everybody because we all know what Park evaluates. Park evaluates Common Core. And if we deviate off of a set of standards, then the park no longer is viable, which means that there's no longer a valid assessment. So, Craig, the long and short is we have no idea what's going to happen as of December whatever. My gut is that the governor was simply setting his sights on local control for education, that they should not rest federally. He did say some things in there, such as standards shouldn't be forged on the banks of the Potomac River. So I think that was just his way of saying, look, states should really decide what happens with education. And look, there's things that we agree with and things that we don't. Anybody with a brain realizes that having, a lot of days for testing on standardized tests is too much for kids. No one's going to argue that. So there have been some changes, but where we go, no one knows. When we do not have the Common Core, we will have to sit down as a team and say, hey, what do we have, and how do we get there? Which is, what you see consistently here is that you see our New Jersey standards, New Jersey core, core. Oh gosh, I'm blanking.
It's easy
That's
for you
awful.
to say.
The core content standards. Sorry, they're all changing because we have to adhere to the new year.
So regardless of what the powers to be may call it, we're still going to need resources available to address whatever it is that they're calling it at that time.
Sure.
That's really, I guess, what I'm saying. Okay, thank you.
In things that I've read from across the United States or whatever, the states that have spoken out like Christie, what ultimately they've done is that all they've done is renamed it,
changed,
and they've reordered it, and it's still Common Core by another name. A rose is a rose by any other name, and it's still Common Core, and they just called it something different. They reordered it, and it's still what it is. And so what we're doing now is just something that we have, and then we'll just have to shift it and tweak it, because there's no way Hespe's going to be able to do what he does in such a short order, because Christie is no way going to jeopardize any funding coming in from Washington, because this was a money issue, and Washington's not going to give up what they've done. So that's what the other states have done.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I guess I have a question on 35, 36, but it kind of continues. I'll pick on 36 and 37 because they're easier to pick on. You were talking, Dr. Hibbs, regarding the CPTs and the CAs and the possible combination of them for the next school year. And now we're paying for extra stipends following that as well for writing revisions on the common performance tasks and then another set of common assessments. If we're looking to combine tests, why aren't we looking to combine people on this task and not pay all the stipends out?
You mean having one person do it versus two?
Not one, but one group. I'm just confused because if we're having CAs and CPTs combined, why aren't they combined in our approval for stipends? Do you understand? Or is that better?
I think so.
He's got it.
Oh, I don't see the mic. Come on. Big guy. Hiding.
Throw it. The other one.
It's windy in here.
Must have been my question.
Mike, can you? Yeah,
Sure.
please.
If I understand your question correctly, why are we not condensing the number of people and having them work on both or more than one committee and not pay as much in stipends? Is that?
Sure.
Okay.
I know it's kind of.
Well, that's what I was just clarifying your question.
Yeah, I guess the clarification, first has to come with what is your plan and goal of testing for next year before I could sit here and be so comfortable.
Got it.
Even if it's $700 or $300, I want to feel comfortable that if your assessments for next year are aligned with what we have to approve tonight.
Sure. So, as Dr. Hibbs mentioned, we are looking at the number, I should say the number of minutes students sit for assessment. So we're trying to not compromise in too many hours, yet still have appropriate assessment so we know where our students stand and where we need to go with our teaching. The common performance tasks are currently being pared down in terms of their length. And for those who don't know or need a refresher on what a common performance task is, it is for lack of a better comparison, it is an extended word problem with multiple questions that require a student to answer in writing by explaining their mathematical reasoning. So we're paring them down. Right now, they're slotted for as a quiz and to take about half a period. We have had discussions of folding the CPT, the Common Performance Task, into the Common Assessment. There are challenges with that, so we are still looking at doing that. Notwithstanding, we are still condensing. So
not combining.
Well, I'm not saying no to that yet. Mrs. Vecchio and I are still working out those logistics, and if we can do that, we will certainly do that. What I can assure you is that the common performance tasks will be pared down, so it will not take a student as long to complete them. Whether that becomes folded into a common assessment within one class period, I can't tell you that right now. That's our goal and our attempt, but I can't promise that right now. We need to look at that and determine if we can fold it into a common assessment.
How are we supposed to approve something if we don't know
The
what
question is, if any of that stuff comes to fruition and what you're saying happens, so we still need all this?
Yes.
Absolutely.
We still need to do revisions.
Yeah. Mike, let me take it. So at the end of the day, what we have to do is we have absolutely heard that we are assessing a lot. We are going to eliminate time spent assessing. That is 100% a promise. If these come out of here, what the common assessments are going to look like next year is exactly what they look like right now. Okay. Because there's going to be no one to work on those committees. So in order for us to actually pare it down, that's what it has to be. The goal is to put them together. That's the goal. Michael and Carol are going to sit down and they're going to kick tires and they're going to figure out how to pare down the assessments and time, just as Park pared down their EOI and their PBA. That is our job is to take time off.
So these groups, let's just work on 36 and 37 since it's in front of us. So these groups of people who are doing CPTs and CAs will in turn work together if you end up consolidating or condensing, combining. Yes?
Yes.
So you would need different people anyway to do the CPT section and the CA section. Is that what you're telling me?
We would need those hours. Regardless of the bodies, if you had the same people, the hours wouldn't change, so that the dollar amount wouldn't change. You could, in essence, take those two same teachers and put them on those the two committees. You would still need the hours, so you wouldn't be saving any money.
Thank you.
I'm a little confused because I thought at a meeting just recently, it was said that they were going to have fewer assessments. Is that what you mean by paring down?
When we say, part of it is fewer assessments. And the other piece, like in English language arts, would be a good example. We're taking the writing task from 2 periods to one.
Okay,
So
these teams of people, when they're writing, they're also taking these tests and reducing
That's right.
the
That's right.
amount. Okay.
I just think it's probably worth mentioning, and we've mentioned this before, but I'd like to reiterate it. In the absence of common assessments, if we were to just make them go away, assessments still continue. They still happen. You may even argue you might have more. Teachers need to assess in order to teach for the next day or the next unit. That's part of teaching.
But as a teacher, you assess every day.
Absolutely.
I mean,
You're right.
I use little whiteboards boards and have them do a problem and hold
Formative
it up
assessment and summative assessment have to occur.
every period.
This would be the equivalent of
Right,
summative.
But that's what I'm saying, like, you assess every day, so I'm not saying to take it out, but I know that we had talked about, at least I had thought we had talked about the major
Yeah.
assessments being cut down.
That's right.
And that's what we're doing.
Sure I wasn't
Yeah.
missing that.
That's right.
And
that's
well,
what
the other
I'm
important
asking.
thing, remember,
Right,
is
that's what I'm saying.
is
That's
that
why
we can't unilaterally do this
do
and
this
don't want to do that without teacher input as well.
Yes.
They're very important. Their opinion is very important. So that's we need man and woman power to help us.
Yeah, the process there has never changed. Curriculum writing and assessment creation has always been supervised by a supervisor, but created by teachers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Go on.
You may continue.
Going to the end, people. 70. Teachers Saturday School Discipline Program. 71, Assistant Saturday School Discipline Program. 72, Substitute Assistant Saturday School Discipline. 73, After School Detention. 74, Summer Evaluations. 75, 2015 Summer Work Bus Drivers. 76, 2015 Summer Work Bus Attendants. 77, 2015 Summer Work Substitute Bus Attendants. 78, 2015 Summer Work Secretaries/Clerk Typist. 79, 2015 Summer Work Substitute Couriers. 80, Transportation Department. 81, Substitute Teachers. Sorry. 82, Substitute Nurses. 83, Substitute Instructional Assistants. 84, Substitute Secretaries, Clerk Typists. 85, Substitute Confidential Secretary. 86, Substitute School Aides. 87, Substitute School Monitors. 88, Substitute Bus Drivers. 89, Substitute Bus Attendants. 90, Substitute Couriers. 91, Substitute Transportation Clerk Typists. 92, Student Practum. 93, Field Observation. 94, Paid Medical Disability Leave. 95, Unpaid Leaves of Absence. 96, Amended Resolution Leave Dates. Do I have any other ones? 97, Resignations. I so move.
Thank you, Victoria. Good job. Seconded by
It's the longest one in
Debbie.
a while.
Okay. On the remainder, or any of the in between?
I have something to go back to. Okay.
Whatever you wish.
Not on a particular item, but I had spoken to Michael Balone a while ago, and I had brought up to him that when we talk about common assessments, that the word common, we keep using the word common assessments, common core, common this, common that. And I've had a lot of parents, and not just, and smart parents. And because of the term Common Core, parents were interchanging the word common. And not to say that it was overly confusing, but we could very easily substitute the word district for word common. And instead of calling it common assessments, use the word district assessments. And it would make it easier on especially new parents coming in. And I think it would set a lot of parents straight right from the very beginning. And because I just think we're using the word common all the time, and with the hate of Common Core so much, that it just puts a lot of more pressure with the assessments. I think it would alleviate some of our problems, and not to say that we shouldn't be looking at the assessments in general, but just to change the name to district assessments, because that's what they are, district assessments. And I would implore the administration to just change that to district assessments.
Or even benchmark assessments.
Well,
How about also
something.
Yeah. They are.
Well, they are Common Core aligned, but I just think they should be called district assessments, because that's what they are. They're across the district, and it would just make it easier on, especially incoming parents, just call them something different so that they don't get confused with Common Core, and it really just says what they are, that they're district assessments.
I will 100% sit down with Michael and have and supervisors and have a roundtable on the name. Okay, that's what I'll do. I'll look at it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, can I?
Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry. No, I don't mind with the, I'm sorry, I was going to say something else, but if we're going back to the common assessments, I mean, I just don't, just be careful on how much you change at once.
You got it.
Just my opinion. On 93, Mr. Vaughn.
93.
Isn't Kane University the one that actually does make them have a background check?
Are they doing it? That I don't know. There was talk that all of the colleges and universities were going to do the criminal history reviews for their students. I don't know if they've moved forward with that. What we've done in Marlboro as a courtesy to Marlboro residents that are Monmouth or Montclair, if they come to us, we help them with their paperwork, so we point them in the right direction to get their criminal
So you
history
don't know if
review.
the specific person was reviewed?
You help with the paperwork, but we're not paying for it?
Mm-mm.
No.
Okay.
No.
So you don't know if this person
No, I
has
thought
one?
Kane
They weren't.
University.
Now, for a field observation, again, we
No.
What
and we
number?
wouldn't require it for the field
93.
observation.
I'm sorry.
If they were reviewed, Mr. Vaughn, it would have the
Yeah,
asterisk.
Diana would have listed it if they had been.
Yeah.
So I didn't think they did.
Person, process.
No, I thought if it's asterisk, it's only if we're doing the review, not if they're coming already with the history report under their belt. Some universities actually do it prior
To getting here.
to getting here. So that's why I'm saying it's probably would not have an asterisk unless we were actually doing.
Yeah, but we never actually do it, though.
Correct.
You know, we require it, but any
Months ago,
employee
I
has
had
to pay.
asked the people that are coming that are already reviewed if we could know that information. So you don't know about this one.
No.
Okay, anybody else?
Thank you.
Cindy, please call the roll.
Okay. Mrs. Rosenwald.
Yes.
Mrs. Denny.
Abstain, number 7. Abstain, Cindy Baragu, number 8.
Oh, I have to revote.
Okay, let us finish it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Want me to
Yeah.
finish first?
Yeah, finish, please.
Abstain, number 9, Tom Ennie. Conflicted on all of those. Abstain, number 81, Denise Mokes. Yes to that.
Okay. Mrs. Cow.
Oh, wait, Bonnie has to.
I have to
finish.
revote. I apologize. This is where all the raises are in here? Or is this where all the raises are? Okay, so I don't have the numbers, so I'm going to vote no for all the raises.
Which staff, just so we're clear?
The secretaries,
The non-aligned.
the non-aligned secretaries. Sorry, Cindy, yours.
Mine too.
Yours too.
We knew Cindy's number, though.
What?
We were given Cindy's and Eric's numbers.
What?
We were given them their numbers.
Yes, no, I know.
Oh, okay.
I'm not voting for Ms. Ennie's, any of those raises.
So let's go back and.
What numbers are those? I
You should really
apologize.
specify which
Just tell me where they are.
Going back.
7, 8, and 9 are the superintendent.
I apologize.
Well, she wouldn't be, you're voting on the superintendent's
The
contract.
contract I'm voting yes for.
It would be 8, 9, and 10.
Okay, so
Yes.
I'm voting yes on everything except 8, 9, and 10.
Is it a no or abstaining?
I'm voting no. And the reason was for the same reason I voted no on the budget. So, to make it clear why I'm voting no. And
Okay.
it's nothing personal.
Oh, I didn't think
Okay.
that way. Mrs. Cow.
No to number 3, the math facilitator at the Marble Middle School, which is on page 22. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth.
Just one person?
Then yes
Yeah,
to-
there's only one math facilitator because memorials would have already been approved.
Okay.
Yes to the rest.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes to all, no to 93, not the person, the process.
Mrs. Matos?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes to all except the following numbers.
Thank you.
Are you ready?
Go ahead.
14, 19, 20, 27, 28, 29, 30, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 48, 49, 50,
Wait, 43, 40.
48, 49,
50.
50, 51, and last but not least, for my friend Rob, 87.
Can I just read those numbers back to you?
You'd like.
14, 19, 20, 27, 28, 29, 30, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 48, 49, 50, 51, and 87.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a bingo.
Thank you.
Blackout.
Mr. Lalansky?
Yes.
Thank you.
Have no numbers, please.
Cindy, I was going out with a bang, okay?
Yes, you were. I'll take those back.
You should have just said, I'll vote yes for these and exclude.
Yeah, that probably would have been
Probably
easier.
easier.
A retiree?
Yes. Mrs. Janet Palmer. Mrs. Janet Palmer received her Bachelor of Arts degree from Montclair University School of Education. Janet's teaching career has spanned over 27 years, 6 of which have been dedicated to Defino students enrolled in the numerous gifted and talented programs offered by the district. Mrs. Palmer prides herself not only in the significant growth of her students, but fostering creativity and developing her students' skills as self-directed learners. Throughout the years, Janet has built relationships with students and their families. She has had the unique opportunity to work with many of her students throughout their elementary school careers. She is credited with having a positive impact on her students' academic, emotional, and social growth as well. Janet was also a valuable resource for her colleagues. She made herself available to her peers, sharing her creative and innovative lesson designs. Janet was an integral part of the Defino family, and we wish her best in her retirement.
Thank you, sir. And as well, on behalf of the Board of Education, we thank our retiree, Mrs. Palmer, for her 12 years of dedication to the students of Marlborough. We wish her a happy and healthy retirement. Page 78. Greg, here's your turn. Policy development.
Before we start, we need to add a date to this. We need to change October 27th to October 20th because of the school board's conference.
Oh, yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, because
We wouldn't have a quorum.
nobody would be here.
We didn't add October what?
We're going to change October 27th to October 20th.
So 2 changes.
Are you guys trying to say you couldn't have a quorum down there?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll quorum down there.
Yeah, exactly. We'll quorum in
John, you
Atlantic
wanna come
City. So we're going to add that date to it.
Okay.
We're changing October 27th to October 20th.
Yes.
Got it. We're good, I got a long one here. Policy Development and Community Relations Matters. The Superintendent of Schools submits the following resolution for approval. Number 1, change of regular meeting date. I so move.
Thank you, sir. Seconded by Mr. Dwyer. Your final second of your career, sir.
For me. And it was for you.
Any discussion on policy development? Cindy, please call the roll.
Mrs. Matos?
Yes.
Mrs. Rosenwald?
Yes.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mrs. Ennie?
Yes.
Mrs. Cow?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
And Mr. Lalansky?
Yes.
Thank you.
All righty. Liaison, New Jersey School Boards, do we have anything? We have anything, Monmouth County? Marlborough Township? PTA, PTO scope?
I can't remember the date. I don't remember. We had a luncheon here. Dr. Hibbs sponsored a luncheon for all the PTO presidents. I want to thank Vinny from Chartwells for the delicious homemade pizza he made for us. I think it was a good time by all, and I know they appreciate your time sitting and meeting with them and just saying thank you. So thanks.
Very good. Freehold Regional?
Yes, they had a meeting.
Okay, go.
Oh, okay. in June the 2nd, and also on the yesterday, 22nd. Yesterday is exciting because they have so many awards giving out, so length of time is on that. On the previous one, it's a regular business meeting, a lot for proof reports.
Okay.
Don't see anything outstanding.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm done.
Marlboro Township Alliance?
They had their luncheon, which honored Lynn Franco because of everything she does for the Alliance. She's like their, after Nancy Geist, she's like their chief cook and bottle washer. So it was very nice that she received their award this year.
Okay, good, thank
So
you.
they're done for the summer.
Okay. Marlboro Educational Foundation?
The only thing is that we really just need to remember to encourage the principals to encourage their teachers to apply for the grants because they have a lot of money to give and they've done a lot of great programs and they'd like to be able to provide more programs to more students.
I will handle.
Okay. Anything in committees? I don't believe we have anything new on buildings and grounds. Anybody else? Nope. Old business. Anybody have any old business?
I do. I brought this to the table probably when I first came on, the first time around, and I'd like to bring it back up again, if that's okay with you, Michael. Because we're always looking at safety and security as number one, and we don't like to spend money, but we do it because our kids need to be safe before anything, Chromebooks and so forth. I would like to make a motion. I said nomination. I have the other thing on my mind. I'd like to make a motion for us to put back or to accept that we get a criminal history review for all our field observers that walk into our classrooms for our children and go forward that way. I don't think it should depend on if they're here for 20 hours or 60 hours. Every time we say yes, we have a person in that classroom. I understand that people are not supposed to be left alone, but I believe that if they're in our classroom with our children, they need to have a criminal history review check.
Okay.
So that should be shortened, I guess.
So you would like...
Make a motion for instance.
Yeah, make your motion, and how should we phrase that? How should that be phrased, that, Craig, to include those classifications of people? What is the proper wording?
Every person that comes into a classroom to observe in any way, shape, or form is subject to criminal history review.
Okay.
Mark, you okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine. Absolutely.
Say
Do
that
they have a
again.
title? Are they called field
They're
monitors? or-
Field observers,
Yes,
no?
as opposed to student teachers.
Yeah, but also the ones
Yeah.
that go in and
You
stay.
just
with
say
us.
everybody. Just say
Everybody,
everybody.
it should be everybody, because I know
That's
those
you
ones that
want
go
to
to
say,
psychologists
say
aren't even.
Okay.
If you say
Wait.
everybody, though, is that
But we're not talking about
including?
parents who go into the class to read a
That's
book.
what I was going to ask you. If you're
Talking
talking.
about college students.
You're talking.
So college and university,
Of a class.
Right, I'm not talking about a class mom who's helping hand out juice
If you do
boxes.
that, because we have people who come in to observe a student who during,
Special education.
Yeah, you're talking about as part of an educational
Okay, so
program.
let's make it specific.
You were talking specifically about the field monitors,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, they're
That's
not
really,
called field
Craig,
monitors.
that's all it applies to.
college and university students that are doing a student
Field
teaching,
observations
a
or
practicum, or a field observation, you want
Yes,
a criminal history review completed.
that's what it is.
All approvals will be pending a criminal history review.
I like that one.
Okay.
Did you get that, Cindy?
no.
We discussed this.
Okay. Cindy, you want to just read it back when you type it, please?
At their cost,
Sorry, what?
not at our cost, not at the district's expense.
It's never at our
Never
cost.
at, okay. I didn't know if you were supposed to say it.
Okay,
We'll have
this is what I
discussion.
wrote,
What do we have
and
to
we're going to have to edit it
Well, if she's
maybe.
got it passed, then we'll have discussion.
To require any college or university student undergo a criminal history review before entering classroom.
Before, how did you word that correct? Before,
All approvals will be
Pending?
pending
right,
a criminal history review,
all approvals.
pending the completion of a criminal history review check.
Shouldn't we add the words performing field field observations in the classrooms? Shouldn't that be?
Field observation and student practicums, is that what you called it?
If we vote on.
Student teaching, practicum assignments, and field observations.
Those are the three
Those are the
categories,
three
correct?
ones, yeah.
And I would just put, they should all stay in.
Field observations, practicum, or what else?
Student teaching.
Student teaching.
It's basically anybody we vote on. This kind of
Good
stuff.
night, Dwyer.
Good job, gang.
If this motion passed, it would require a change to the policy as well, because our policy specifically spells out who needs to have criminal history background checks.
Be subject to
And these
criminal
folks
history
are not
review?
part of that right now.
Subject to the completion.
Policy, we could change the policy on that?
We'd have to change the policy as a
Yeah.
result of the motion.
Well,
So the motion has to pass first, and then you go.
Subject to the, Cindy, subject to the results of the criminal history review.
You would just refer it back to the policy committee to
Yeah,
make
refer
necessary
back to the
changes.
policy committee, make the changes, right?
Okay.
Did you get it?
So Cindy's good?
I think I got it. I'm going to say it one more time. To require any college or university student doing field observations, practicum, or student teaching be subject to the results of the criminal history review.
Not to make things hyper-technical, but do we really need to say, is it just college students? Could it be other folks? In other words, are we being, I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, the only other thing you possibly could,
You just put anyone who does
that's
X,
kind
Y,
of
and Z instead of
Mm.
everything, right? Just put
If-
anyone who does
If the intent,
those
if the
things.
intent of this is to ensure that anyone who is observing a classroom in any way, shape, or form, field observer, student teacher, practicum, on any scope, whether it's with a school psychologist or a teacher or whatever it is, you want to ensure they have a background check. You have to make it broad, because sometimes you'll have, what happens when the regional comes back and says, hey, you know what, we have a class and we need to observe. The answer is going to be no, because it has to be everybody, in my opinion.
Well, by doing that, though, again, I go back to what Mr. Zittermer and I were talking about, because we have people that come in, professionals that come in to observe special ed classes.
That's different.
I
you're
think if we're listing these three things, we could just say anyone who is doing.
Similar.
They are, so in that moment, so let's say, for instance, somebody has to come in because of an IEP or whatever it may be, they are always with somebody when they're doing that.
No.
They're by
They're
themselves?
in the other room.
But
They
they're-
would be looking into that room.
But they don't have access to children.
Yeah, they
Do we
could.
want to exclude?
In a different room?
We could say excluding
Could be.
special education observations. I mean, if we don't want to include that group of people.
I don't understand why you would exclude that if you're looking for everybody to have
Exactly.
a background. It's either all or none.
The only reason is because they're observing from other
Are they
classrooms.
ID? Do they go through the building?
I agree.
It's that, yes.
If you're,
Why?
So they're
if you guys, you can't go down this route. Then what do then anybody that enters the door, so when's the next step? Do you say a parent can't come in unless they can present this? What the intent of this is you're talking about the
Your
people that are
interaction.
working with kids. They're working with kids. The interns are working with kids. The practicum, the field observers, the student teachers, they're all hands-on kids.
Three categories.
That's
that
where
we
it should
just
stay.
mentioned.
Those three categories.
Yeah. It's not anybody professional. When they come in, they're hitting lobby guard. If they're in the sexual predator database, we're going to hit them right away.
So we want to say require anyone doing field observations, practicum, or student teaching.
There you go.
Be subject to the results of a criminal
Yes,
history review.
because if anybody comes in from a high school, it's still a field observation. They're still falling into that category. They're just looking. Sir?
They do.
No?
High school students do not come through HR.
No.
We only
They have
get
to.
candidates through.
Underage usually.
Most of the time it's Monmouth, it's Keene, it's Montclair. Sometimes we'll get Brookdale. We don't get any high school students.
I just want to be clear that there's never a time. Because I know in Mount Holly, there would be times.
I'm not saying that it hasn't happened.
It's not
It
running
has
through HR.
not come through HR.
So I would need you to make sure if this goes, then that nobody gets in front of kids without running through your office.
Then that will be on an administrative agenda because that has to be addressed with the principals.
Let's get a second. And then
That's the motion we need to say.
we'll, Yep. Ricky, get a second. I'll open up the discussion.
So what are we doing with high school kids?
Can't let 'em in.
You tell me.
in my opinion.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
What are we doing with, what are we doing with special ed?
They're not involved
Observations.
because they're not doing
Yeah.
field observations, practicums, or student teaching.
So so are they in classrooms?
Who? Like professionals?
Yeah.
That come in?
Are they background checked? Do they have their fingerprints done by the state?
I can't tell you that. I don't know. It depends on the professional.
This motion is on these three categories.
But but I'm asking you a question because to me, I'll amend the motion. Are they fingerprinted by the state?
Who are they? Who are we
The
speaking?
paid professionals,
I know,
she's
but
asking
who
about
are
the paid
they?
professionals.
Not
Maybe
necessarily.
a psychologist for a family who's hired as an expert.
Right.
Going to come in
so
and
they have
observe a
that type
student
of
to see how they
Not
interact with their peers,
necessarily.
they testify in a case.
No.
Probably
I
not.
don't think they're necessarily required.
No.
And
That's a
then
good
we have,
question.
wait a second, and then we have parents, because we have field observers here who are college kids that go to Brookdale, that are here 20 hours, that are not alone in classrooms, that are only observing classroom kids, that are only observing, they're only supposed, that's all they're supposed to, because I know I took that class in Brookdale.
But they are
And-
left alone. I've
And
had
if
3 of
they
my
are-
students say that.
And if they are, then the teachers should be written up, and they should be dealt with by the principals and the superintendent, and they should be reported. But that's the administration's deal, and the teachers should be dealt with, not just with a slap in the wrist. But then we have parents who are going into the classroom that are spending a hell of a lot more time alone with those kids and being left alone with the kids. So I think that this has to be amended for parents, because we're having parents going in and out of the schools with their...
Excuse me, Mrs. Rosenbaum, when are the parents left alone? When do you know of the parents being left alone?
Well, for the same way that...
Vetted through the, yes, but are they left alone? I don't think
But-
parents are left alone.
But
Professionals would be as well.
But the field observers are being vetted through the same way. And for the sex offender,
With these college kids coming in to observe, they're not going through lobby door?
They are.
So isn't it all, I mean, what are we looking for? We're looking.
Well, lobby guard is just sex offenders, not criminal history.
Right.
Different than a criminal history background check. That's-
So why aren't we putting the parents who are in the schools that are unfettered, that have the tags? We give the parents.
All right.
Parents are not left
All
alone,
right,
not
so-
that I know of.
All right, so I understand Bonnie's, so she would like to want to make a motion? Make a
I'm
motion?
going to make a motion that all the professionals that come in, that for field observing the special ed kids,
I think you're going to have a problem from a legal standpoint, because if they're there to observe a child,
We can't stop
You can't
them.
stop
We
them.
can't stop
And they're
them.
professionals, paid professionals. There's somebody you can go after and sue.
their
and
parents are
everything
paying them to come in there and observe their children. I think we're going to be in litigation on that one. And Mr. Zimmer can talk much more.
You know, I'd have to look at it, you know, I think probably as a school district, if we wanted to set policy to say anybody coming in the classroom has to have a criminal background check, we probably could do that. Is it going to throw up a lot of roadblocks to getting a lot of stuff done in terms of experts for special ed cases? Probably.
I know a school district that didn't let the state come in for it's now called something else, it's not DIFUS anymore, and made them not allow them in because they didn't have criminal background check. So I'm making the motion.
You're making a motion to amend the motion to
Yep.
include special education experts and students who observe students,
And-
just so it's clear for what you're
And
motion
parents.
to do.
She's
Well,
saying
that's
and
not what you
parents.
said yet.
Yeah.
I'm first doing the,
You want to add
Professionals.
professionals, parents?
why should they not be included? Because these kids are, what does it cost now to get the background check? About $95?
I believe it's,
75.
yeah, I was going to say it's about 75. It's all done, it's done through Sage Morphotrack, and you have to set up an appointment. They're digital fingerprints. And it depends, if you, for some student, or for some people, if you've had it done for one district, you still have to archive your prints, and that's $35. So it could run you anywhere from 75 to 100 plus by the time it's all said and done.
Do I have a second?
Wait, I want to clarify exactly. I need you to
She
tell
said
me.
just the
Professionals,
professionals.
parents,
Just professionals, I had that,
not
correct, Bonnie?
parents.
No. Anybody want to second Bonnie's motion to add professionals?
Of course not, because I made the motion.
Okay, so back to the original motion. Any further discussion before we take a vote?
Can I just ask a clarification type of question? These
Sure.
professionals that we're talking about, do they need to have some kind of criminal background check in order to keep their certifications or
No.
licenses?
Some
Some probably do, some probably don't. I don't think a psychologist necessarily does. I don't believe. I've never researched the issue. I don't know off the top of my head.
Yes.
Yes, I think the key is that if those people come in, spend the time alone with the students, that concerns me. If they have a classroom, the classroom teacher at the side, then that's different. As long as the teacher is there when there's people here, that's
Okay.
make a difference.
So the teachers are supposed to be in the room. We've heard people say sometimes they're not. We heard people say they always are. So you have to make your own determination in your mind whether you believe they're always there or not. The teachers are supposed to be in the room. Okay. Cindy, please call the roll on Debbie's. Well, he's.
You waiting for Mr. Dwyer? Mr. Dwyer,
And another question.
please report to your seat.
Let's go. Chop, chop.
Okay.
We need to vote.
Yes, I'm going to take a vote.
You
Okay.
missed
Yeah.
my motion,
What are we
Mr.
voting?
Dwyer.
Sorry.
This is,
Well, I do have a question.
That has a question.
According to, whatever, the regulation, whatever, in the classroom, will the teacher always be there? If teacher have to go away, should somebody else be in the classroom?
That's what's supposed to be happening.
Yes.
Teacher should leave.
Yeah, for the field observation, and also the practicum, Mr. Vaughn, both of those.
So the field observation, they should never, it's observation. They have they're in the back of the classroom watching, learning. They do not have interaction. They're not supposed to have interaction with the students. A practicum assignment, they can have an interaction, but it's a shorter period of time. So they might be in 2 days a week, and they might teach one lesson. And then for a student teaching, it's 5 days a week for a semester, and they gradually assume full responsibility. But at no time for any of those three placements should that person be alone with students. The difference is your interaction. Field observers, no interaction. Practicum, a little bit. Student teaching, they will get full interaction, but that teacher should never leave the room. And if that's happening, well, that's something that should be addressed.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
So what we're looking to do is to put something into effect, because rules that are already in effect aren't being followed.
Well, depends who you talk to.
That's what I'm hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we
Yeah.
should enforce the rules, and nobody should be left alone, and they should be taken to task if they are.
That's right.
And you're not supposed to have any gum or candy or food on the bus either, but if
Debbie,
have,
you
have
can
it.
build a big mousetrap, but the bottom line is, it's like the government. They keep piling on more regulations and more rules, and then not enforcing what's already on the books. So already on the books, it says teachers should not leave their students alone with anybody. They walk in, they get vetted through lobby guard, so we know they're not pedophiles, because all bells and whistles and lights would go off. They don't belong in the darn room with the kids unless the teachers are there. If the teachers aren't there, that's his problem, and he should fix it.
It's got to get back
We
to
should
him, and
fix
it's not
it.
getting back to him.
But to us to build another rule to
It's not
To
a
preventing
rule.
some
It's not a
wrongdoing,
rule. It's
yeah.
a background check. It's a safety
listen.
concern.
I respect your opinion.
I respect yours.
But the bottom
It's not a
line is
rule.
you're building another mousetrap that to me, it doesn't make sense.
And all
It really
we're
doesn't.
doing is stopping the kids from coming in and doing practicums, because they're not going to get the.
But it
I
could
think
slow
if they
down.
want to come to Marlboro, they'll pay the $75.
No, they won't.
Do a background check.
So Debbie, it's really your concern that sometimes the teacher are not in the
It's
classroom.
not my only concern. If I'm sitting here and
You don't want to take the risk.
I don't want to take the risk, and Mr. Vaughn, I mean, I know I didn't email you prior to this, but I'm sure if you went through all our things on how many people we've approved to come in for just field observations alone, not even adding everybody else, that's a lot of students. It's a lot of students. We're not talking a once-in-a-while thing. And for me, my concern is that they should be background checked. And they're young adults, most of them, and the pedophiles may not be ringing the lobby guard off the top. We're talking about a criminal history review.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
Connie?
I have a question. So if Mrs. Dean is aware of teachers that have not complied with policy, and if Mrs. Matos is also aware, I'm not sure.
Don't assume, because we heard what you said about
No,
swimming.
I said I wasn't sure. I didn't say I knew for a fact. I said I was not sure. But you said you knew. Have you gone to the superintendent to tell him which teachers have not complied with policy?
I did go to the superintendent. This was not under Dr. Hibbs. It was when Dr. Hibbs was here. But I did go to Dr. Abbott. I did report it when my son was in school, and he came to tell me, and I was told it was going to be taken care of.
Oh, so
ever since then, I have, and ever since then, I have always voted no to the process, not the person, because I knew it was happening. And I had a teacher at Dugan Elementary School tell me, a teacher that's no longer teaching there anymore, also say the same thing. All the time it happened. So just going by what I knew, I brought it to the superintendent. He said he was going to handle it. I'm not going to micromanage. He said that he was going to handle it. And so since then, I voted no.
So it's not something that's in the last 2 years. This is something that's before 2 years ago. So we don't even know if this is even happening.
It doesn't take away that they're coming into our schools and they're sitting with our students, and now with technology and with phones and taking pictures, and you have all over the news the other day, there was a man taking pictures under the desk of girls, you know, in their short skirts and stuff like that. You don't know who's coming into your classrooms. They're there for 20 hours. They can sit in the back. They're young kids. These young girls are 12, 13, 14 years old. They're right there.
Oh. Okay. Cindy, would you please call the roll?
Absolutely.
Debbie's resolution.
Mrs. Rosenwald.
No.
Mr. Dwyer.
No.
Mrs. Ennie.
Yes.
Mrs. Cow.
No.
Mr. Marshall.
Yes.
Mrs. Dean.
Yes.
Mrs. Matos.
Yes.
Mr. Lalansky.
Yes, what is that?
Motion carries.
Anybody else on old business? New business, anybody?
New business.
Sure.
New business. Just a reminder to the public that there is a school board election in November. We have 3 seats that are up. Applications are due July 27th by 4 p.m. I just wanted to get out there. A lot of people are not even aware that there's a school board election, that it's going to take place in November with the general election, but the application deadline is July 27th at 4 p.m.
What about the one for the?
Oh, the one for the, I don't have the information for
So
you. June 30th is the one that
June
if you're
30th
going to.
deadline for the filling John's seat, and we're doing, right now, tentatively on the 7th interviews.
As long as we only have a few, we'll do
Okay.
on the 7th.
Okay.
How many do we have? 1.
Okay.
Excuse me?
One person has applied to fill John's seat.
If you look to your left, I mean to your
Um,
right.
Final public session, open any item. Anyone public wish to vote on any item?
Yay.
Robin Wolf, 101 Cannonade. First, I want to thank the Dugan staff for being so amazing during all my years there. It's very sad my son had his last day yesterday, and I'm sad to be leaving Dugan. It is an amazing, amazing school, and I'm excited for the new chapter, but it's a sad time. Also, I want to thank Dr. Hibbs, like Stacy Rothman said, for being very brave and taking our 3 boys for superintendent for the day. They had a great day. They, especially in their Giants jerseys, I have to add that. It was really wonderful that you did that. Now, on another note, I understand that teachers need assessments to get grades, but as I understood was said at a previous meeting, that we were going to be decreasing the number of assessments, not just the amount of time testing was going to be done. A teacher is always assessing, like Dara said. On a whiteboard, you do a problem, show us the answer. They use exit slips, and there are so many other ways to assess. Do we always need to be doing so many formal assessments? Kids are always studying for these assessments. My son brought home his writing journal, his morning journal, and the one thing he wrote in there was, I can't stand all the tests that we have to take. I'm always studying. And I know you asked them as well when you had them. He had about 150 assessments this year when I added them up. Why can't the common assessment and the CPT be combined? I thought that's where we were going, and that's what Ms. Matos said when she said, when she was looking at the two different 36 and 37, why aren't they combined? So I'm just curious about that. In regards to the Chromebooks, if kids do not charge their Chromebooks, are they going to be penalized? If they come into school and maybe whatever happened that night and they didn't charge their Chromebook, what's going to happen? And what happens if they forget their Chromebook at home? Will there be an extra one for them to use that day? Just the food for thought. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful summer. And behavior therapists do come into the classrooms, and that sometimes could be in an emergency. You call, and they may not have been, but you need it as a teacher. Sometimes you need those resources coming in. I agree with what you're saying with the 20 hours. I think they should be background checked, but there are professionals, and they have their own background checks, usually, that they have to do to be come into the classrooms. Anyway, have a wonderful summer. Thank you.
Respond at the end of public session, which might be now. Does anyone else from the public wish to address the board on any item? Okay. What?
Peanut free.
Yes, they are.
And they're very good.
Thank you.
They're really good.
The goal of the revisions is to cut down on testing. I think it's not a problem. That's 100% our goal, and our goal is to fold the CA and the CPT together. That's the goal. Okay? You got it, Robin. As far as the Chromebooks not charging, so we're going to have a few extra plugs in every room so that if a child needs to plug in for a little bit, that's what's going to happen. If it is an habitual occurrence, there'll be a phone call home just saying, hey, you know what, Johnny has had a dead Chromebook for 3 days, and it's, we need to talk about it. And same thing with forgetting. So this is not something that we are, even from the outset, going to look at as a punitive thing out of the gate. We'll just address small occurrences as they occur.
Thank you. Okay, going to read the executive session resolution. Be resolved, according to the provisions of Open Public Meetings Act, Marlborough Township Board of Education shall conduct and close executive session pursuant to personnel and legal exceptions required by NJSA 10:4-12, purpose discussing the school safety and security and personnel matters.
And negotiations.
And
Cindy needs some dates.
Negotiations and matters of attorney-client privilege.
Yep.
Anticipated length of time in executive session will be 20 minutes, and action will not be taken in public at the executive session. Be further resolved, the minutes of executive session will be released when the need for confidentiality in accordance with NJSA 10:4-12 no longer applies. Seconded by Mr. Dwyer. All those in favor? Aye. Anybody against? No. I'll make a motion to adjourn to executive. Seconded by Debbie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against? No. We are